before we head into games, so very quickly, let's see which map we're going to be playing on. For map 1, of course, it's a best of 3 series with overtime and all of them. And there it is. Pick Guts Clubhouse first. Theme park. Okay. Do you need to change your pants there, James? Theme park is picked second, C9, and then finally Consulate as our decider. James, why are you so happy? Come on.
This theme park pick changes everything. This is very unlikely. Theme Park is actually Cloud9's most banned map in the last 6 months, and Guts don't play it either. So Cloud9, they've only ever played this, 3 times in history, and one of those was in, they've never played it in APAC North, right? It's not a map that they're known for, and Guts are the same. They've actually only ever played it once in all time, and they lost it to Fav. So that's a really sneaky pick from Cloud9, and I think it swings into their favor. It's a big risk, but there's a big reward waiting.
All right.
I mean, you look at a previous map, and you saw that it doesn't have to be a big risk, James.
What, the clubhouse pick?
No, the one that we had the previous matchup where we had Consulate, which was always banned, worked out quite well. So who knows?
Yeah, you hide it the entire season, right? You ban it 19 times, then you play it at the end where it really matters. Gonna push through people. Clubhouse, again, technical map. We've seen how effective Cloud9 could be on this, and a lot of teams actually in APAC North are very comfortable on the map. I would definitely favor C9 in this. I think almost all of us do. So what do Guts need to do to deal with this very quickly? Our game's almost ready.
I hate to be
disruptive,
boring.
I guess.
Yeah, James?
Yeah. I hate to be boring, but I feel like I want to see some good individual plays from Guts. They know that they're contending with some incredibly talented gunners on Cloud9. Also, Cloud9 are very well-rounded team and very good when it comes to the technical playstyle. We've seen Guts be really, really strong in Clubhouse before in the past, though. But we do have that little bump in the road that they found when they lost it to Cloud9 in Stage 2. I'm hoping that that's not the Guts that we see today. I'm hoping it's the Guts that we saw defeat Cyclops on Clubhouse back in Pro League Season 11. So fingers crossed.
It's been a while since then. Yes. Can you still use that data for it today, James? I know. Imagine Esports, imagine Rainbow Six Esports, any esport without Excel sheets, right? It would be a sad day for specifically both of you here, as both of my
job, honestly.
Yeah.
Both Statmans.
It would be
if you took away my spreadsheets, I would just retire.
It would just not be the same. Our lobby's almost ready here. We're just making sure everybody's set. There's one player that is always the odd one out. So then we'll head into it. So, final thoughts on this. C9, still advantage for this going into map 1 Clubhouse?
Yes. They do have the advantage overall. I think Cloud9 it's a very well-rounded team. They have a lot of aggression which they can bring. And well, you said it, Guts, they made their famous roster change again and ever since they started to improve again. But I'm not sure if it's enough to take down Cloud9. That's the big question. Sure, they got better. Sure, it worked out for them. But will it be enough to face one of the behemoths of the region?
Actually, James,
that is my question.
James, I wanted to ask you something more in detail around the entire series, right? And not just the first map. If you're in this case Guts, and Theme Park banned out every now and then, Cloud9 not really super comfortable, do you just end up kind of forfeiting the first map and trying your best for later? How do you kind of play around that?
What, from Cloud9's perspective?
Actually, it's from Guts, but our lobby is ready, so I'm going to have to stop it there. Right. I'll let that question simmer on for later. Let's toss it over to our casters. Cloud9 versus Guts, and well, guess who it is on the caster's desk? Impossible to ever figure out, right? Cough, cough, let's go. Speed of light.
Thanks, Milosh. Of course, it's me. And
it's a me.
And my dear James, you can have an opportunity to actually answer this question now, since you have plenty of time, unless, of course, this series ends up being really short, like the last one was.
Honestly, as soon as I lose Milosh's face, I lose all memory of him. So I just have a temporal memory, so I can't even remember what that
it's
situation
right. It's
was.
easy to forget the things that you want
me.
out your life.
Exactly what I was thinking, Gio.
Great minds. Great minds. Well, this one is going to be a pretty exciting series. These two teams didn't actually get the opportunity to face each other in the last major, given that Cloud9 did have their bye into the semi-finals. Meanwhile, Guts Gaming ended up going into the 5th and 6th place match, and they did get the 5th place. So this is the first time on a major stage they've been here to face one another, and they've both been pretty cruel when it comes to the map bans to one another.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. It's so hard to determine, or I guess to try and have an argument for Guts here. Because as much as going in on paper, I would like to say Guts is a great team, and I can totally see them getting a victory over Cloud9 in some way, shape, or form at some point. I don't know. This is just a map veto that I think will swing the way of Cloud9. I think that C9 are great on Clubhouse. Guts aren't that bad on it, but it's a 50-50 for me. Theme Park, though, we just don't have enough information to go off. I think Cloud9 has an ace up their sleeve there. But let's jump into the operator ban phase first. And we see the Hibana taken off. Pretty unusual ban there for Guts Gaming, or rather for Cloud9. Guts get rid of the Monty. That's not super unsurprising. They have done it occasionally before, especially on this map. It used to be their mainstay ban back in Stage 1 and the start of Stage 2. But for Cloud9, that Hibana ban, it is their typical ban on Clubhouse, though it's not really on meta so much as the Maverick or the Thatcher ban. And it does, the Hibana ban does really make it much harder to go for kitchen attacks on that basement bomb site, because it's much harder to breach kitchen hatch without Hibana's 3 X-Kairos sets rather than Ace's 2, rather 3 Selmas, which require 2 on that hatch. So I think that we'll probably not see kitchen attacks be very successful or even attempted whatsoever.
And then obviously, Valkyrie being added into the ban phase, not only is that, I guess kind of common these days anyway, but Guts definitely like to kick her in a lot of their games. And we might, because Cloud9 can play a very successful Wamai, but I think it's more about obviously denying it to the opponents. And we are, of course, on not the patch that has been recently announced, not the new season. So Wamai does still have his shield. He still has all the same number of magnets. He's just as powerful as we've always known him to be. And clearly Cloud9 feel that their loss, not being able to have someone like MV Taylor on the Wamai, isn't going to be as detrimental as it would be if Guts had access to him.
Yeah, getting rid of that Wamai just makes it really nice and easy to clear Garage in particular on the cache defenses, and in general it's just as much less impedance to your projectiles. So when it comes to trying to play like a shield heavy meta or Banshees, protecting these kind of bulletproof gadgets that you're always trying to destroy with your explosives, you get rid of that Wamai and it makes it way easier to burn through the ADSs and get the job done. Oh, look at that, Real Stage Esports, one of our APAC South Twitter accounts, I should say South Asia, getting in there as well. Xavier really went ahead and made the major. Looks like another day in APAC League. Utter dominance. Love to see it. Certainly a trying match if you're a Japanese fan. But hey, you got another chance here. The Japanese are still in the major. And, Guts have got their work cut out for them.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like 3 of the 4 Japanese teams made it into the major. It's a very dominating region. If you aren't familiar with how strong this region can be, then you're definitely going to be learning this. And Guts Gaming have their opportunity, despite how we've spoken a lot about how Cloud9 are a pretty good team, despite the fact that a lot of people maybe underestimated what the Korean scene can bring. We'll just have to see if they can keep bringing the prowess that they always have done so far.
Let's dive a little bit deeper now into the setup for this basement bomb site. It's no surprise to me that Cloud9 decided to start here on the basement. As I mentioned, getting rid of that Hibana makes it much more difficult to go for kitchen attacks, but at least for now, that seems to be the idea here for Guts. Typically, you'd bring your soft breacher like your Bok or Sledge to open up all the floor in and around kitchen, and then you would use your Hibana to try and destroy that hatch. The idea being is that the Hibana X-Kairos pellets are vulnerable to being impact tricked from below, and your soft breacher is opening up that floor to try and actually contest the player below, impact tricking, and therefore enable the hatch to be breached. But it's going to be risky. You're going to need to use Ace's Selmas from JJ on the hatch, and I don't know, it's pretty risky because you need 2 of those to detonate in order to break the hatch, which means that even as soon as you impact trick 2 of them, there's just no chance that the Selma can breach it open. So instead, the Guts instead go for maybe a blue push and a church push, trying to pinch from Moto, rather than rely on kitchen hatch control.
Yeah, it looks like that might be something that's happening here as JJ throws the Selma out onto the church wall, and we saw that Yura was looking down blues. A nice, I nearly said impact trick. Wow, I was so used to talking about those recently. That is indeed a bandit trick. It is bandit. He has batteries, but Xiao could be in trouble here as Yura starts to look down upon him. But we all know what he can do as a player and what prowess he brings to Cloud9, so this is still going to be a struggle.
But it's a crossfire, which Yura walks into. There's a shield around that corner, but Static is also there to support. Shield goes down. Great pre-fire from Charles there. That kicks off the man advantage for Cloud9. 30 seconds left for this execute to start. Charles, you're in the gas, goddammit! What are you doing, mate? Takes the team damage, he tanks it. But MV Taylor does a little bit work here in Arsenal. Only 2 attackers remain.
Always there to save the day, and as you say, they do have the advantage as well, and so Crazy Papillon and Light have a lot more pressure on themselves. They're staying pretty close together, there to support, and there's the first kill coming out from Light as he gets Static, allowing them to push further into Church, but just 3 seconds are remaining. Light has it all on his shoulders, and MV Taylor says no, leading Cloud9 to take the first round.
Yeah, it really didn't look like Guts had a chance to get in that round, and I've got to put it down to Cloud9 having really good utility game, and just the strategy behind that setup was brilliant. I mean, you look at the way that they, firstly, I've talked about it a lot so far, you ban the Hibana and you weaken the prevalence of that church attack, rather the kitchen attack. Not only does it mean you're less likely to see a push through kitchen, but it also means that you're more likely to see, well, a result of that, you're more likely to see the push come from blue and from church. And we saw really, really important player presence and utility from Cloud9 to protect against that. For example, on the church wall, the first thing we saw was JJ's ace Selmas were bandit juggled off the wall by Harper. And that's perfect. Immediately, it means that Guts are trying to open up a little avenue, a crack in that egg to exploit. And Cloud9 says, no, you're not breaching the church wall. That stays solid. You have to funnel through Moto and blue. And guess what? Yura tried to push through blue, but there was not only a shield there to protect, but also a crossfire sustained by Charles and Static together. That completely closed off that avenue, and it just turned up being a bloodbath when Guts brute forced these avenues that there was absolutely no way they could dig their teeth in.
Yeah, it's really nice as well, because obviously Cloud9 taking advantage of the fact that they know that that kitchen attack is virtually impossible. They can set up better for the blue and church push, but it also meant that where Envy Taylor was positioned over in Armory, he wasn't really being touched by the attackers. They weren't paying much mind to him, and that meant that he was in that position where he could get those long angles in through to the other parts of the basement while he wasn't necessarily being contested or prioritized, and that worked really well for Cloud9 in the end. So maybe that's going to be a pattern that we see. We know, I mean, I made a joke about it at the start. Envy Taylor, very, very strong player for this team. But we do know that a lot of time he is the epicenter around which the rest of the team orbits. And that could be a pattern that we see continuing on.
You know what's funny here from the attack was we've actually seen already a pivot in operator choice, which is pretty rare, especially on a map like Clubhouse. You usually see most teams run a one-size-fits-all operator lineup where there's just the same 5 ops every single time. 2 hard breaches, 2 soft breaches, and a flex. And we've actually seen that kind of modulate a little bit here. Guts, they've gotten rid of the Thatcher, and they've actually decided to bring an extra hard breacher. JJ's taken the Thermite, Crazy Papillon's taken the Ace, and Light with Maverick. And I think that's actually a really good and important thing here. You'll notice on the defense, yes, there is some wall denial in Static's Kaid, but I think that extra hard breach is going to be really essential for breaching things, for example, that Kennel's wall, and eventually this construction wall into Cash, as we just see Light head on towards. This is great early map control for Guts. They've already taken control of construction, just 1 minute, 15 seconds into the round, and they're getting to work. That said, the first blow once again strikes for Cloud9.
Yeah, that's a good start for them, but look how far up Guts have already pushed. JJ's already getting the exothermic charge ready onto the construction wall. He just doesn't want it to be destroyed or tricked. Yeah, you said it.
Did it? I think it... Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
the claw was thrown out just in time.
You gotta rely on Light. Envy Taylor's bleeding out, so it's not really like he can do much. There's no one around who can help out with that. He's just got to try and get out of the way, but that shield may end up being an issue for him. Either way, you still have the mirror window up, and so they can see straight through into where some of these attackers may be, with, of course, the soft wall open next to Harper. But doesn't stop the fact that Guts eventually got the wall open. Oh, nice nade.
Yeah, I believe that's the second nade that's resulted in, or near kill at least. Ooh, the Ace Selma on that mirror! And Light just swipes Harper's head out of the server. Static also replies that's his second on the round. And Guts, well, the numbers have been even. Charles says, I'm not happy with even. I'm going for something a bit more than that. Static finds his third. And thus the round comes to a premature end. Cloud9 scrape it out of just about nowhere and take 2 back-to-back defenses.
Not bad, not bad. And I mean, we are used to seeing on Clubhouse all 3 of the favored bomb sites being cycled, and that's why we'll now be heading over to Gym and Bedroom, and they'll get their opportunity to defend this. And if they can do that, that's going to be a problem for Guts, because then they face the fact that Cloud9 will have taken a full cycle and they're going to have to start again and try and adapt to what they've done. Now, here on Clubhouse, you do naturally expect it to be defender-sided, so you shouldn't be worried too much about it, especially not at this stage when only 2 rounds have transpired. But even so, you're here in the major, you're going up against an opponent that you know is very, very, revered. You know that they're going to be a difficult opponent to face this early on in the competition. You don't want to be letting too many rounds slip through your fingers this early on.
Well, once again, the mirror is taken for Cloud9. I really like this. It's not every day these days that we see the mirror featured. Often teams lean into that shield meta more so, but Cloud9 are like, hey guys, we could do both, right? We've got 3 shields here, 2 from Goyo and 1 from Smoke. And then we've got 3 Banshees. That is, 6 different things that explosives are going to have to dispatch with. Do a quick count on Guts' side. You've got 2 explosives on Yura, 2 on Lily, and 2 on Light. All 6 of those are going to have to land their targets to simply just destroy those 3 Banshees and 3 shields from C9. Add to that the fact that even if you destroy all those shields, there's still mirror windows to support some strong anchor positions, and, well, Guts certainly have their work cut out for them.
Yep, that's definitely how it feels, and you can see Cloud9 are just getting ready and prepared to be holding on to this east side of the map as well. It's actually where Harper and Xiao are going to be setting themselves up, it would appear. I like that Envy Taylor is down below as well. He could just be rotating around, but having that presence, especially with the Goyo, who is, I believe, probably carrying a C4, could also just provide some of the vertical pressure. Yeah, of course he is. Some of the vertical pressure hiding down here in the kitchen. Is he just ready for someone to...
You heard the rappel,
He's being sneaky.
Sneaky cheeky. Well, that is the Envy Taylor that we know and love. Actually, one of the, not oldest in terms of age, but in terms of experience, players in the APAC scene. Envy Taylor was there, along with Static, formerly known as Sweet Black, was there for the very first APAC LAN, played in the very first season of Pro League on the earlier iterations of this roster, when they were known as Mantis. Some of you may recall, they made a stint at a few international events. Actually came second in that very first APAC LAN, defeating the now Fnatic roster in an incredibly convincing 2-0. It's been a long road for some of these players. Can they make a major? Crazy Papillon already starts the exchange in tandem with the Maverick, opening up this wall, and wow, that's easy as you like. Control of Cash, but Cloud9 bite back at least a little bit.
Moving back a bit further, I like this position that Nova has, especially with the little peek hole in the wall. Even though Guts Gaming have taken control over in server and cash, if they want to pass in through construction, they're going to have to face that. But it'll be Envy Taylor to put the next kill on the board. That'll be onto Yura, who is downstairs. That's the second time now that Yura has been the first loss on Guts Gaming, sporting the Zephyr and now not able to have any of that utility available. And on top of the fact that Nova is holding onto that angle from Logi, you also have Envy Taylor who's looking at the hatch as well. This could make it really difficult for Guts Gaming to commute across the map, and there's only 30 seconds left.
Oh, and just look at how much area denial and plant denial there is still for Cloud9. 3 gases, surely no, not the feetsies. Light's thanking his lucky stars, he survives that one, but he doesn't for much longer. No. There's Charles, doesn't matter if he's on 20 HP, he can clean house. Likely to find another exchange now, but maybe Envy Taylor will steal all of them first. Here come the gas, and there's just about no way Guts can pull off any kind of execute, even should they find the bomb site. Envy Taylor's got a C4 below. Time ticks down to 0. 2 players from Guts still alive, but it doesn't matter because they don't have that diffuser planted.
It just seems that so far in these first 3 rounds, even at the times where Guts have been able to push forward and be able to get one of their, sub goals, I would say, one of the checkpoints that you have to tick off the list to be able to, the overall goal is to take the round, and I don't mean the entire round, but one of the checkpoints that they have to move through as they go down the list heading through the round. When they get there, it always seems that Cloud9 have set up and been prepared for the next part of the story. In that case, it was holding on to construction. They had that from multiple angles. You had Envy Taylor downstairs who could prevent any kind of rotation or anti-roam from the attackers. You also had the smoke that came out at the end to hold them back. We saw JJ run through it with some kind of desperation, maybe hoping that he could just at least have a go to put the diffuser down. But the point is even when some control is taken by Guts, I'm not ready at this point to prematurely assume that that's going to be able to translate into a round win right now, because it seems that Cloud9 are always prepared on the next step.
Yeah, definitely. And I've got to say, I really like these strategies. I think that basement is just such a complicated bomb site. There's so many different ways that we've seen this bomb site interpreted. Everything from, the extended SSG roam that has become somewhat infamous at the moment, to full turtle strategies, which we've seen so many different kinds of iterations of. I'm pretty sure this is meant to be a full turtle strategy. Static's just making it look like he's roaming. Oh, there you go. That's a really important drone to get rid of. Bit of information denied. He actually may well roam up here. He's making some holes in Logi above the bomb site, or rather the kitchen hatch area, which is super valuable. Surely he just tries to find a way to get back to site now. Well, okay, this is so weird from Static, but I don't think it'll matter. Surely Cloud9 can just get back to the bomb site, turtle down, but Static is just so eager to find a gunfight first.
I mean, part of me thinks it doesn't even really matter that much, because even if it doesn't end up working out, at the very least it'll waste some time. And that's something that I think, given that Guts have been on the back foot, they don't necessarily have that resource at their disposal. But as I say that, Static is going to rotate back down, he's going to castle it off and not spend much time upstairs. But those drones have seen him, they don't necessarily know that he's gone back down right now, and so Guts has still got to be aware of that.
Yeah, the meat and potatoes of this round is the site execute. That's what really matters here for Guts. And look at that. That castle barricade might not seem like much, but it just wasted an extra 10 seconds. It takes 12 knife hits to destroy that castle barricade. That's a damn long time that Light could be spending on these hatches, which of course also takes a lot of time. We've actually seen the triple hard breaches once again remain, but Lily's gone back to that buck. Typically you would see that to try and avoid the C4s to a kitchen hatch. Of the kitchen floor, I should say. I really want to know what Guts are planning to do to counter this bandit trick. I mean, surely the key to this round is Guts breaching that church wall. But they've got to somehow deny that bandit trick. The most obvious solution to me is to get Yura to come around and have the concussions over the top of the wall, as that will cancel the animation of Harper's bandit trick. But Yura's already used one of his concussions in blue, so I really don't see the forward thinking here from Guts. I don't know what the plan is. It's actually Church Hatch, and somehow JJ gets an exothermic off. All power to you, mate.
Yeah, not too bad. And Yura's actually going to be adding a kill on top of that as well. Xiao is that player who he couldn't dislodge last time. So this is good. This means that Guts can try and take some more of this space, more of this control. There is still the angle being held, and he's going to be going for it straight onto the Malusi. But Static will be the one receiving a death instead. A good way for things to go for Guts, because as I say that, the kills come in for Cloud9 and they start to even it out. In fact, taking the man advantage straight back off of Guts in very swift fashion. Now Crazy Papillon is just watching out for these angles that could come to bite him, and JJ takes a ton of damage. Crazy Papillon dead. It's just JJ, and Cloud9 take their 4th round.
Wow, things actually started really well there for Guts. Not only did they manage to breach kitchen hatch, which I thought was super unlikely. Yura got the first pick in blue, and actually a second one as well through the wall. Poor Static. They'd be molding after that one. Add to all that, Guts also used the Maverick Torch from Light to open up a hole looking down at the bottom of the church wall. And that basically denies those key half bar, the mini bar positions in church. No, that's so many tick boxes. The sub goals for
The
Guts.
sub goals. Yeah,
Completed.
the sub goals.
Yeah, I love that. That's my new favorite thing. So many of those boxes ticked there for Guts. But guess what? Euro was eventually traded out in blue, and that meant that MV Taylor, I believe, was the Malusi player. He was allowed to stick around in there for even longer. And that's really important because it meant that he had a crossfire onto the player pushing in through Moto at the end of the round. Add to that the fact that Guts, I think, didn't really commit to one kind of execute or another, right? I mentioned how many options they had with that free pick in blue. With the kitchen hatch open and the church wall breach. That's fantastic. That's all the ingredients you need for either A, an arsenal plant, or B, a church execute. But they didn't really do one or the other. They just kind of got picked off until they didn't have an ideal execute on either of those bomb sites, and the round just got ripped right out from under them.
Yeah, disappointing position to be in. It's at this point as well that you would like to say, okay, 4 rounds have gone to the defenders. We would like a couple of rounds for the attackers because everyone looks for that 4-2, the fabled 4-2 split when you get to the half. But as it stands, Guts Gaming don't necessarily look like they can be tenacious enough to pull this back in their favor. Yeah, we talk about how things were going really well for them before it got ripped out of their hands in that last round, but hasn't that kind of been the story for the whole thing so far? I mean, it's not that it hasn't looked better, it's that it hasn't necessarily looked better at the speed with which we need it to.
Yeah, I really feel like that basement bomb site is the toughest nut to crack here for Guts. But we're going to have to see, hopefully, the next 2 rounds go their way in order for them to really have a fighting chance here, in my opinion. This should be a fairly defensive-sided game, but it's Guts' map pick, and they really need to take it here because Theme Park, man, that's a roll of the dice. We have absolutely no idea how Guts would play on that map, and counting for the fact that it was Cloud9's pick, I think it's safe to assume they've got an ace up their sleeve.
This is actually really cool. I like how far forward Harper was holding. They're actually going to retreat now, but in the last time they came to CCTV, he was behind his mirror window over at the top of Red Stairs. That's where MV Taylor is right now. And so I kind of liked the aggressive positioning. He's taking his station, and you notice there isn't anyone directly there to try and trick necessarily. I mean, MV Taylor could try with the impacts, and as he moves forward, it looks like that's going to be what happens, but Static is further back on the Kaid. He's holding the garage rafters instead. Now, if MV Taylor doesn't go down when Guts Gaming tried to open up to the construction wall, assuming that this is his aim, then Guts could find it a lot harder to even tick off that sub-goal as it stands.
It's been a bit of a hard breach headache here for Guts Gaming, despite bringing 3 of them. There's all kinds of cheeky things that Cloud9 are doing, from impact tricking the ace to using the Kaid to deny this wall from being done with another hard breacher. That has to be the Maverick, and we saw those gases come out to force Light to take a little bit of damage as he tries to get this wall open. Finally gets the job done. The soft part already having been removed by Lily. This is a great avenue in, but not a lot of control. And see how much utility is still stacked inside that bomb site, not to mention a mirror to face. Man, Cloud9, by all rights, should have the advantage when it comes down to this execute.
Yeah, and look at the amount of time that's left. There's barely any. Static is going to fall, so that kind of swings things towards Guts. Actually, there's going to be so many more members of Cloud9 falling too. And now this is the first time we've seen a situation like this. Xiao and Harper still remain. Xiao can get a kill for himself. There's 18 seconds to go. Guts are going to go in for the plant as well, and Harper's looking for it, but he knows that there's someone just outside the server window. He can't quite bring them down. In fact, JJ gets the kill, and there's the plant too. This could be the first round that Cloud9 is set to lose, and it is Guts Gaming finally pulling things back in their favor.
And they got the plant down as well. A nice execute there from Guts. It certainly helps when you're executing in a 5 versus 2. A valiant effort from Charles and Harper, but it just wasn't going to happen, not with such a numbers disadvantage and with players off site. Not to mention the fact that Harper had no C4. Maybe with that Nitro in the pocket, he could have tossed it over and denied that plant, given himself a fighting chance. But credit to Guts, they finally got the job done. And they're actually on a decent track here now, Gio. If they can cop this win here on Gym and Bedroom, I wouldn't doubt Guts too much of at least pushing this to overtime. A 4-2 split on your attacking half, especially with this Hibana ban, is not terrible. That said, I don't doubt that Cloud9 are going to be ready for their attacks as well. So there's absolutely no 2 ways about it. This is going to be a tough fight for Guts from here on out. But the fact that they won that round there means they do have a chance.
Look at this. Envy Taylor on the Frost.
Oh.
I like it. She's definitely been an operator that's been spoken about a lot. And we always make the same jokes, right? Where it's like, well, at this level of play, you bring her for a load of different reasons. The shield, her weaponry, but who is really going to fall into a Frost mat? And you say that and it happens. So I really, as much as we're, weaving this whole narrative where it's like, yeah, Guts, they're looking better. They could take this last round and that could give them a fighting chance in the next half. I still want to see someone die to the Frost mat or at least get caught up in it.
Yeah, one of the things
Sorry,
I love
Guts.
about this, the thing I love about this Frost pick is that Guts are playing so late. Like their executes, for the most part, their execute last time on this bomb site literally came out with 1 second left. If you remember, it was JJ running through that smoke, literally 1 second on the clock when Guts stood foot in the bomb site. And for the most part, the other rounds has been 9 seconds, 20 seconds left, 20 seconds left. Guts are having it late. When C9 still has utility left. So Envy Taylor is counting on the fact that when Guts comes in for the late execute, they're not going to be checking for those welcome mats, and they're going to be receiving quite a warm welcome as a result. Add to it the fact that, yeah, as you say, Frost is actually a really good loadout, just in terms of her primary weapon has a 1.5 times sight, very little recoil, very high damage. Oh no, was that a bandit trick? Wait, there is no bandit. How on earth did that get shot out? I'm sorry, but what? Did he put the thermite charge over the mirror window and it was shot? Oh no, Guts, you can't let this happen. Static managed to impact trick the ace as well. He doesn't impact trick the second one, but that is an absolutely scuffed breach right there. That's the technical term, guys.
I think there's no better word for it as well. And especially when you have to consider that at this point, last time they came to attack this site, all of their attention was over on the server wall. This time they've come to the jacuzzi wall a bit earlier. And yeah, you still have Light, he's got Maverick, so you're not like entirely on your own from the hard breach perspective, but it still does kind of ruin your plans a bit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, they brought a thermite in to make one big effing hole, right? That's why you bring a thermite. He always says it in the lines, and that's absolutely
the line.
not. You know the line, guys. That's absolutely not what they got out of it. They got 2 scuffed little peak holes that they can't enter from. It gives Cloud9 a lot of flexibility into the late round. But now, Guts will turn their attention to Cash, rather. If you remember last time around, this was actually really easy for them to take control of, thanks to a little bit of a Maverick breach and a shot. Took out, I believe it was Harper, really, really early on. But it doesn't look like it'll be that easy this time. Actually, it will be that easy, because it looks like Cloud9 have completely retreated and just given it to them for free. But that's actually a pretty smart idea. It means it'll be a 5v5 execute, which probably favors defense.
Yeah, and what I also find interesting about this is it means that Guts kind of have to temper their expectations. Light's getting very close to that window, and I know he won't jump in, but it's like, I get excited. But what I was going to say is it means they have to temper their expectations, because they can't necessarily just think, oh, well, this is what Cloud9 did before, this is how we'll adapt now, because Cloud9 aren't doing the same now. But Guts are still going to get that first kill, 10 seconds remaining. They do have to push in now, or they're going to lose the opportunity. Lily does fall, but not before Light gets shell. And so that does mean the 4 versus 3, but look at all those kills come through for Cloud9. And suddenly, all hope is lost for Guts.
The Frostmat clutched the round! We're gonna see it on the replay here, guys!
No, I didn't even see it at the time. I was looking at the, like, you know, when sometimes you're looking at just one part of the screen, you don't necessarily see what's beyond that. I'm so glad you brought that up. I'm so glad you mentioned that. Because I was just like, oh my god. I was just like, oh my god, Guts missed out on this. It could have gone their way. Cloud9 have brought it back in their favor, and I didn't even get to see the Frostmat.
Yes,
it
was a 2v1. It was a 2v1 for Guts. Like, I was thinking, okay, like, by all rights, they should have this, right? Euro managed to get that injure at top of main stairs, so it was a glorified 2v1 there, 1v2 for Nova on the defense. And then I saw the Thermite get injured, and I'm like, what? Was there a gas canister or something that choked him out, or I was trying to play? Nope, it was the goddamn Frostmat. So thank you, Envy Taylor. Everyone in chat right now, please say thank you, Envy Taylor, and you will have guaranteed frost luck. That's how it works.
Yeah, and you know, like, well, I was gonna say, like, maybe most of chat probably like gold, which means that they'll need the frost luck, because that's where you always see frost.
Are you insulting chat right now?
Well, I am also gold, so I can make that.
All right. I forgive you, Gia. Just this one. If you're not gold in chat right now, please make it known to flex on all the other people in chat.
Yeah, even if you're like copper or bronze, you can still flex because you're not
Oh,
part
that's a
of
flex?
the. Well, it's a flex because you're part of a more exclusive club.
Exactly. The highest percentage of the player base sits in gold or silver, I believe. So if you're anything above or below that, you are part of an elite community right there.
There you go. Way to alienate like half of our viewer base. If you're gold, you suck.
Well, yeah. Well, here we go. I'll hit you with a segue. You know who else is part of an elite community? Cloud9. Cloud9. They are an elite, and they have just taken a 5-1 half. Really, thanks to that frost mat, which really was, as we like to say here, Gio, the nail in the coffin for Guts. And Cloud9 are wasting no time getting to work here on their attack. Beautiful Maverick trick from Nova. There's no mirror window on that from Guts to try and make that a little bit more difficult. It's the strategy we saw from Cloud9. It's just easy as you like, done and dusted, despite those holes, which the goal of those holes was to make the torch a bit scuffed. It's become my favorite word now, I guess. But Cloud9 aren't going to fall for that one. Nova knows what he's doing with that blowtorch.
I just want someone to shoot the mute jammer. Well, I guess it's going to be gotten rid of. Well, they didn't shoot it out, but I imagine it's gone now. But it's like, it's right there. It sort of looked kind of lonely, you know, when you see that a wall has been opened by a Maverick and the mute jammer's just behind it, just chilling.
I need my 10 points. Shoot the mute jammer.
Yeah, well, you know, you don't get told points in pro play, so...
No, but you can still hit tab, and the MVP animation is still dictated by points, and everyone wants the MVP. But nonetheless, let's get into the nitty-gritty of this, right? Cloud9 is 2 rounds away from taking Guts' map. This is grim. About as grim as it gets here for the Japanese. Is that breach walkable? I cannot quite tell. I think there was a tiny little bit left, but Nova should be able to clean it up if that's the case. Cloud9 are actually in a pretty strong position here. Whole minute left. They've got the Kennel's breach open, and they've got the cash breach open. This nade's about to dispatch with that shield. No, it doesn't. It misses. Second time's the charm here for MV Taylor. And there's no reinforcements on that wall. This is super difficult for Gus to sit their anchor positions right now. This is a 5v5 execute, but one that I think favors the attackers.
It's kind of strange to hear that being said on Clubhouse, but I can't necessarily say I disagree with you, especially with, you know, how swift and well-organized Cloud9 have looked so far in this round. Another 30 seconds have ticked down, and there's some of the gases coming out from Guts to try and prevent their push in. And MV Taylor's down below as well, so you can tell they're trying to approach this from multiple different angles.
Oh, yes.
You still have players from Guts down there! And he's going to remain. And now the C4 comes out as well. It doesn't catch anyone, but JJ did. And Cloud9 are looking like they could be in trouble. But Harper gets a 2K. Maybe they can pull this around. He doesn't even get the chance to put down the diffuser.
Oh, no.
And this is just a total mess at this point. Guts Gaming finally took the round. But my God, that went backwards and forwards.
Wow, that absolutely did, Gio. No two ways about it. What a mayhem we have just witnessed. And it's crazy to think this, but imagine that initial gunfight had gone the other way. What an incredible shot from Light with the SMG-11 to take down MV Taylor. You mentioned it. There was a fantastic position for Cloud9 in terms of the execute. They had every single breach they wanted open. They had all of the utility on the defense dispatched with. They had their positions, and they were like, all right, let's do our due diligence. Let's leave no stone unturned. MV Taylor will go downstairs to make sure there are no pesky defenders with C4s down there. And in fact, there was. It was Light. MV Taylor was holding the angle exactly onto where Light was, and MV Taylor had a 2.5 times scope to take that fight. Light quick peeks it like lightning. I guess as fast as the speed of light has taken on a new meaning right here. Nails that headshot. Not only does that take down that one player downstairs, it leaves Light down there with the C4. He used that C4 while he didn't get a kill. He was eventually the last man standing for Guts. And had he been killed in that initial exchange, Cloud9 would have won the round. So fantastic stuff from Light and from Guts as a whole to keep that frag fest going. 1 for 1 for 1. And, well, they're alive for at least a little bit longer here, Gio.
They had to hold on. I mean, Cloud9 aren't even on match point at this point, so it's not like it's edging too close. And it's very easy to get in these situations where you see a 5-2 scoreline and you say, wow, you know, one of the teams is so far ahead, and then suddenly those three rounds to even it out just go by in a flash. And especially given that Guts are on the defensive side at this point, you can't necessarily say that that's not going to happen. Now, this time, this is kind of interesting because they've decided to go for the Cloud9 route and bring Mirror along. That's going to be JJ sitting on that operator. And Cloud9, they go for a kind of, well, I was going to say a sort of classic Cloud9 sort of lineup, but what I mean by that, the thing that made me think that immediately was that there's a Thatcher and it's just you never see them anymore. And I was like, yeah, Cloud9 played Thatcher.
When they're allowed to, when they are permitted. What's quite funny is we saw Guts take the Thatcher in the first round and they got rid of it. They never brought it again.
Yeah.
Only once. And they lost that round and they're like, no, okay, you know, we don't need Thatcher. We'd rather bring an extra hard breacher. I have respect for them for that. But the Thatcher does make dealing with some utility a bit easier. What's funny here is that Guts aren't bringing any wall denial. Like the operators that you would typically expect the Thatcher to help with is like your Kaid, for example, maybe a Mute or a Bandit. No, none of that. They're really the only real interaction you have is the Thatcher can disable the ADSs or the Evil Eyes or the Banshees. But I don't know how relevant that's actually going to be. We'll have to see whether it ends up having an impact on the execute.
That's quite an early smoke.
Yeah,
What,
and
toxic
ineffective
Dave
as well.
canister.
He
Yeah.
was trying to. Yeah,
Unlucky.
how many got used? There was 2 canisters used to try and choke out Nova, but credit to Nova, he knows how to breach these hatches without being affected.
Yeah, he's doing a good job, and he's actually being incredibly efficient as well, which is definitely one of the things you want to look for, especially in such a utility-heavy meta that we are currently in. Yura is just looking up towards the blue stairs, just waiting for someone to maybe push down. Likely that's Xiao, as he's going to be the one who's on Zephyr. Unsurprising, Yura takes the shot, doesn't quite achieve what it was he was looking for, and he does, of course, have eyes here into Moto too. One thing that we've been seeing quite a bit recently is teams having that rotation open and then having a shield in it as well, so they can keep their eyes on Moto and shoot towards it with the protection. The mirror window kind of does the same thing.
Yeah, but it's such a high risk. Wait a second, 5v5, Nova's going for the plan. Oh my goodness, what is happening? 9 seconds left, and somehow it gets denied. All right, Yura and Crazy just get in on it as well. But Cloud9 going for this church exit, or rather Arsenal execute through the kitchen hatch, but they've fallen flat on their faces. A second one now for Crazy. Diffuser down on the ground. That's just the 2 SAS operators to try to salvage something. Static needs to find a few kills here. Whiffs his shots, gets swung on. JJ shutting this round right on down. MV Taylor, the last man alive, but time elapses, as do Cloud9's hopes of winning a basement defense.
It looked a bit like maybe they didn't need to rush that hard. I don't know. It felt like that was kind of so unnecessarily weakening themselves when maybe they could have coordinated that a bit better. But I want to give the props, obviously, to Guts. It was them who successfully defended it. They had themselves well positioned to deal with the problem. It's not necessarily just down to the fault of the attacking team. But what it does mean is that we are now in that situation that I was talking about, or getting closer to it, which is where the defending team, the team on the back foot, is starting to creep back up. And now they are the ones going to their third bomb site and seeing if they can make it into a full cycle themselves.
Yeah, wow. I mean, it's difficult to predict what's going to happen when these teams look quite different on their attack versus their defense. In particular, I want to credit Cloud9. I think they're playing quite well on their attack. But Guts are just playing at a high level on their defense as well in comparison to how they play on their attack. I think there were quite a few weaknesses there that Cloud9 exploited. For example, with the Frost, they exploited Guts' time management. But for that round, I mean, we didn't quite get to see what happened. I'm trying to look at it back on the feed at the moment. 2 kills happened off screen. The execute came on down from Cloud9 with 30 seconds left. And yet they had that plant denied and another player go down with no refrag whatsoever. Maybe that does highlight some weakness for C9 as well. But we'll see. They get a chance to reset. Let's just move on to gym and bedroom. I think this is a bomb site that will favor them more. It's typically the weaker of the 3 bomb sites on this map. And I think with how good C9 are at their hard breach, in particular, Nova's just so efficient with the Maverick Torch. I feel like it's only a matter of time before C9 sets themselves up in an advantageous position. maybe the key is just making sure it's not a 5v5 for the execute. Try and find 1 or 2 picks before you commit.
Yeah, I think that's really been, and it's unsurprising. It's not like it's a completely revolutionary idea, but it's definitely been something that's been noticeable, is that when Cloud9 have had the opening picks and when they've been able to, you know, apply those early weaknesses to Guts, that's when they've looked significantly stronger later on. Because as we've seen, in the more even gunfights, they don't necessarily swing one way more than the other. A lot of the time, they're very aggressive, very backwards and forwards. We've seen what both of the sides can bring. And so you do need those early kills. There's an example of one. MV Taylor, he got what he wanted, and now he can very quickly move away, and he's looking to nade up towards Logi. Light wasn't in the path of the explosive. But even so, Guts Gaming do have that casualty on their side that Cloud9 lack.
Patience truly is a virtue. I don't know how long MV Taylor was sitting on that bench for, about 30 seconds. Eventually he found a pick and was just watching that rotation main stairs. Really important pick, though, as we were saying. Cloud9 are good with their utility game. Like, they're going to set themselves up. Last round, they had 30 seconds to execute. They just kind of fluffed it when it came to that point. Now, if they end up having a 30-second kind of buffer of time for their execute, they'll be in a 5v4, and we'll probably see the defenders try and make some aggressive plays to get that man advantage back on their side, at which point Cloud9 playing patient and punish for that man advantage and be even more likely to set up that execute.
Yura on a very, very deep roam right now. Cloud9 have been able to get the jacuzzi wall open, but with the JJ present in the bathroom, he's still holding on to that angle, and that'll make it harder for Harper to be able to work his way through, and that's why the rest of the team have got to make their way through the rest of the map as well. Lily's ready and waiting for it, though, as he's behind this shield in Master. One of the Vulcan shields, likely present on the bed before, has been gotten rid of. He's going to get stunned now, but he still manages to get the kill despite that fact. And more kills coming in for Guts Gaming as well. Cloud9 seemingly struggling, especially as the diffuser is right outside now, and there is so little time left. They're at a huge disadvantage with not really much as far as information going for them. Right now, it really looks like this is very much going to fall into Guts' favor. Xiao can't do much. He gets a kill, but at this position and at this point, it doesn't really do anything, and Guts do indeed complete their full cycle.
Wow, that was a very surprising round in my mind. I could not believe how that transpired. We saw Cloud9 do everything that I was saying they were probably going to be good at doing. It was taking control of cash. They breached just about every single wall they wanted. They set up great positions. They even had that opening pick. So where did things go wrong? Well, for one, Yura was allowed to roam the entire round, eventually flanking up the red stairs into cash and even finding one kill. That completely dismantled Cloud9's presence coming from construction, added to the fact that Crazy Papillon, I think it was, or no, I can't remember which player it was, and whoever it was, someone died in construction right at the start, trying to fight that guy on the deployable shield. That just didn't happen. It didn't work out. And so, yeah, I don't know where things went wrong exactly for Cloud9. They get so many things right, but just like one thing wrong here and there, and they just absolutely collapse. They cave in. It's like they're, I know, a perfectly baked cake that just, you've done all the steps right, but like, when it came to the end, you weren't really diligent with taking it out of the oven at the right time, and you take it out and it's just burnt to a crisp.
It's like that, that video that always goes around of like the person taking their chicken out the oven and then dropping it everywhere. People will know what one I'm talking about. I always see it on Twitter. I always see it on Twitter, and it's like this huge stew or something, and it just goes everywhere. And they're like oven shatters or something. It's disappointing. Cloud9, you don't want to be the team of the oven shattering. Well, hopefully, for their sake, they can start to swing this back around as we head into round number 10. But Guts Gaming is certainly going to be feeling their confidence growing after what's been happening. One thing that was very clear in that last round is that when the utility that they are relying on for protection is not threatened by Cloud9, they can definitely put themselves in positions where they can take advantage. That was Lily in that last round, who had so much control over Master because the shield behind behind which he was hiding hadn't been dealt with. Yeah, they got rid of the one on the bed, but as the players started funneling in through construction, Lily was there and ready to deal with the problem, and it was very effective. So if Cloud9 fail to do that this time, and if they aren't efficient with the utility clear, I fear the same thing may happen again.
It's sad to say, but I feel like Cloud9's defense, attacks have looked worse and worse every single round that happens. This may well be some kind of early execute. Was the smoke there? Can we have a look at that? Easy, I believe, is on the odds at the moment. Was the idea of that smoke to make it so that we couldn't see the ace Selma that was thrown onto the wall to try and breach the angle? I really don't know. That's my guess. So I'm going to do some theory crafting. I think that what we saw was the ace tried to breach that wall between top rafters and the B bomb site so that he could get an angle onto Lily. He tried to use a smoke to cover that, but for whatever reason, Guts somehow managed to thwart that plan. And now we just see Lily, his ADS disabled, desperately trying to hold on for as long as possible. Eventually, somehow managed to find a pick. Eventually down, finished off by the nade, but my goodness, Lily's got to be pretty happy with that exchange.
Oh yeah, but Yura's down here in Oil Pit. He could catch out one of these players. They've just recollected the diffuser. And if that is static above, which it is, that's the diffuser drop once again. So Cloud9, even though they made it work for themselves to be able to pick it up and had that second lease of life, they've now got to do it again. Oh my god. Goodbye, MV Taylor. His nade didn't work, and instead he met his demise, and Yura is still able to make the roam work for himself. 30 seconds remaining, and Harper's trying to get some revenge, but once again, just two players here on Cloud9. They don't have the diffuser. They have to go for kills unless Harper can pick it up, which he does, but time is slowly ticking and running out, and the question is, are Cloud9 going to be able to hold themselves up against Guts Gaming in this situation? Because so far in this game, it hasn't looked like the answer is yes. Harper's pushing forward, but time really is of the essence, and it looks like this may not get to work out for them. Crazy Papillon ensures that that is the case. And what a disappointing and unfortunate round for Cloud9. And now our scoreline has evened out.
Wow, it's certainly turned around. And 4 rounds ago, if you had told me that we would see an even scoreline, I may well have called you a liar. What a comeback we have seen for Guts Gaming, from a 5-1 deficit now to a 5-5 even round count. MV Taylor stepping up for his side, as we would come to expect from him, even when the team's not doing so well, always turns up on the scoreboard. But Church and Arsenal is the bomb site in which we see Guts return to, and arguably one of the worst attacks we saw from Cloud9 was in fact onto this bomb site, at least in the execute phase. Everything looked so good in the early phase. It was 30 seconds left when Cloud9 had to execute this. They even managed to breach the kitchen hatch open. They had so many options, but it fizzled out. I think they focused maybe a bit too much on trying to get that plant down, and as a result, even potentially the smoke grenade that they used from the ace to cover that plant actually ended up covering the defenders who denied that plant. And it meant that when Guts managed to find 2 picks onto the planter and one of the other players, there was no way for Cloud9 to really refrag that out. So I'm hoping Cloud9 can find the opening pick this round. I think that's really important because it's only been one of the 4 attack rounds so far when Cloud9 has found the opening pick.
I think one thing that is worth remembering, just as we head forward from this position, is that this is Guts' map pick. So you can turn around and say, wow, you know, Cloud9, this dominating, insane team, they've been evened out, they're really struggling. One thing I remember hearing is when you enter into like best of 3s, best of 5s, the priority is always to focus on your map pick. And obviously,
hello.
Ouch, okay. Obviously, it would be really nice if Cloud9 could take their opponent's map pick. That puts you up for an even more advantageous position. But their big focus needs to be theirs. And so even if things are looking tentative and looking difficult right now, if they can't pull Clubhouse into their favor from this point, there is still hope because their choice is still yet to come.
Yeah, it's not the end of the day if Cloud9 lose this map, but it will be a surprise, especially forfeiting that 5-1 lead is significant in its own right. But for this round, Gus decided to change their strategy. A curious decision considering the fact that they had already won by playing a full anchor strategy, and now they're deciding to go for a heavy roam strategy. You can see the Mute Mozzie Castle is very typical of what we would call the SSG roam. Good night! See you later, Euro. Envy Taylor, if I was him, I'd be typing in chat after that one, something pretty nasty. 4v4 now, and that's one of the roamers dismantled. I was going to say that Guts were off to a good start thanks to Crazy Papillon taking down Charles, but that man count's evened up. And these roamers, I believe, have all but gone back to the bomb site. We do have actually Crazy Papillon still above. Lily trades out Nova somehow, and this is a super early execute. Static, I better hope Envy Taylor's covering you.
Yeah, he's just going in straight in. He brought out the fire to prevent anyone from pushing forward. Really, that gives him some extra time. And as you say, Envy Taylor is there for cover. No. He's going to try and shoot in. The plant was successful, but they have to figure out where these defenders are so that they can keep their hands off of the diffuser. There's one in the tunnel, and Static knows it, but he doesn't get it. He's going to be bleeding out instead. Envy Taylor has to try and do the work alongside Harper instead, but Static is going to be the one to go down. Cloud9 do bring it in their favor, and that means that they can finally put an attacking round on the board, but it was looking close.
Wow, things really can change in just a matter of moments in this game. Cloud9 finally on that match point. It took them a damn long time. It took them 5 goes, but eventually they managed to cop an attack. 1 extra strike in their column, and they'll only need 1 more to take Guts' map pick. A really beautiful round at the end of it, to be honest. A really early execute from Cloud9 coming on about the 1:15 mark. Typically, you wouldn't see it until 30 seconds or less remain on the clock. And I think it came down to a really good split-second shot call / IGL decision from Cloud9's favor. So they had 3 players left, and the enemy also had 3 players left. But they seemed to be aware of the fact that Crazy Papillon, the mute, was still roaming upstairs. Do some quick maths for me, and you can tell me that if the attackers all push the site, that's a 3v2 for them on the bomb site. That was fantastic. Add to that the fact that Capital was picked for the first time instead of Thatcher for Static. It meant that he had tons of utility, the smokes and the fires, to cover himself as he dropped down that kitchen hatch and even deny the dirt tunnel player from even peeking whatsoever because it was, well, the floor was lava. You're not meant to peek that, hey? And just that in tandem with Envy Taylor, and I believe it was Nova, I can't remember which one it was, pushing at the same time. Get that plant down, retreat back up the hatch, and easy as you like, C9 have a round and match point.
Match point, but while it's match point, it's also overtime point. Because if Guts take this round, then we head into overtime. So it could swing one way or the other. Cloud9 obviously hoping for it to swing in their direction, and they've actually brought in Ying on a 6 pick, something that we haven't seen yet, at least not in this matchup. So changing things up slightly. They're not got the Thatcher, which is what they've been sporting this entire time. What do we think of the Ying?
I'll spin a yarn for you. The only time we've seen Cloud9 have static flex off of the Thatcher is the only time they've won an attack round. That was the one just passed. And I would argue that the Capital was instrumental into the win of the last round. It really enabled Static to go for that plan. I want to know what the idea is for Static. I have a feeling he's probably expecting it to either be this very bomb site gym bedroom, or it could be church still. It can't be cash. That's still locked here for the defenders. But I do wonder, what's the idea here for Static? If it does end up being, I don't know, an execute onto the bomb site strategy, where is it that the Ying's going to push? For me, the most obvious assumption would be, oh my god, Nova!
He took a lot
Value
of damage.
your life, my friends! I know you want to breach that wall, but god, do you want to breathe as well? My goodness,
yeah,
sorry.
I was thinking like, come on, my dude, please move.
I was just waiting. I was like, I'm going to keep talking because he'll get off. He'll get off, right? He'll get off, right? Nova, no! It's okay. He's, thank goodness, still alive. But I'm expecting, I'll just, 2 cents, I'm expecting the Ying maybe to come down a logistics hatch and disrupt where Light and Crazy Papillon are playing. I think that might work.
All right, well, I guess we will find out. I'm going to be looking at Lily because this was the player who I spoke about before and playing the same operator as well on the Goyo, who took so much control over in Master and made it very hard. I just saw that. I saw it come out and I was thinking, is it going to go off? Is it going to go off? I love ragdolling. It's so funny. There's nothing more entertaining than it. And Nova's going to try and respond in kind by sending in a nade himself. but nothing from that. Love seeing a good C4. Cloud9 feeling the pain from that. Envy Taylor is retaliating as he's playing from down below. And it means the Guts Gaming are actually on the back foot in terms of man advantage. So it's going to be much harder to hold on tight and anchor down into this site when you typically expect the attackers to come in from a couple of different angles and there's more of them than you.
C9 have a lot of map control right now. They're pushing from all sides, but Logistic is unpressured. Lily allowed to find 1 kill on the Shah. That relieves a lot of the pressure here. And Envy Taylor goes down as well. Nova's going to get the defuse. No, he just manages to barely get it. But now he's against 3 players in the post plant. There's a full 35 seconds left for Guts to make this work. Nigh impossible for Nova to protect this from below. He knows he'll get contested. He has to take some fights here. A 1v2 now. Even more possible. This is for the map. And now Lily gets on that diffuser. Maybe he can even shoot the feet. But no, the cover comes in perfectly from Light. Gio, we are going all the way to overtime.
Oh, we are. Guts Gaming are not going to let their map go particularly easily. They're going to have to fight for it yet a little more. And, you know, we love that. I'm sure everyone in chat is glad that it's getting this spicy, it's getting this heated. It is Cloud9 who start off on the overtime attack as they started things off on defense. We've just seen them struggle on attack, and they're going to have to do 2 rounds of it this time. So straight away, it puts them on the back foot. The idea is, of course, if you start off on the advantageous side, then you start on the disadvantageous side when it heads into overtime. And that's not a nice place to be, but they are going to be bringing back that composition that you spoke about this is the one that they actually won something on.
Yeah, and what's more, Guts decided to pick the only bomb site that, like, all bomb sites are unlocked in overtime. Guts decided to pick the only one that they lost. That's a real, I mean, you could say head scratcher, a real curious decision. I mean, I'm not going to doubt Guts and say, oh, they don't know what they're doing. They should have picked bedroom or cash. Oh, I'm curious. I want to know what is going on here. I want to know why they thought, hey, let's go to church. We won it once and we lost it once. Maybe their thought process here, and this is what I'm expecting based on the operator picks, is, okay, guys, we tried church twice. The first time, we did a full 5-man anchor strategy and we won. The second time, we did a heavy roam strategy and we lost. Now, guess what? They're doing the anchor strategy again. This is the tried and true thing that worked for Guts last time, and it means that Cloud9 are less likely to have a numbers advantage if they execute onto the bomb site without, with some of the roamers still upstairs. So I like that. At the same time, I can't help but thinking if I'm C9 right now, I'm looking at this and being like, it's church. All right, let's do the Capital strat again. I think that could work.
I'm definitely interested to see how this is going to go because I think it will set a pacing. Even though we only have, 3 rounds ahead of us, or I mean, I suppose potentially just 2. But even though we only have 3 rounds ahead of us at maximum, I think I worry about whether Cloud9, will be discouraged if they don't get this to work. Especially as, this is the Capital, worked for them last time. If it doesn't work this time, does that make them look weaker? Does it make them look like they have fewer ideas in their strat book? Does it make them feel like that's the case? How does that set their mentality going ahead into a map 2, which they've picked as a sort of haha got 'em? And yeah, maybe they prepared for it, but it's not a map that they've really played that much. It is a gamble. Coming off the back of this, if this doesn't work out for Cloud9, how are you going to feel going into that gamble? Xiao's probably going to feel pretty good. Because that's a good start. And so maybe this can begin to work for them. There we go, a second one. That's Yura, who has been causing Cloud9 so much grief. And for them both to have been cleared out so swiftly from blue gives Cloud9 a lot more room to work with and a lot more of an opportunity to take that necessary control.
Cloud9 very, very well positioned now, and that they've breached that kitchen hatch with Static still alive. It means they can very well go for that Capital execute. Keeping in mind, this is Guts' map pick. The second map is definitely going to favor Cloud9. Guts need to win it here for a chance, but it's not match point yet. This is the first round of overtime. Can the revive come through? Surely not. Another nade comes down. Execute, sure to follow. Lily really wants to pick up his teammate. And as he does, JJ is back in the fight, but it's a 3v5 fighting from behind. Guts Gaming have time against them.
MV Taylor taking his opportunity to try and help clear out Arsenal, but he doesn't actually succeed in his endeavor and has to back off as he loses quite a decent amount of health. There are the smokes coming in. That's going to help obscure Lily from his goals, but he does finally manage to bring Shell down. Nova can have an opportunity to go in for the plant. JJ's desperately trying, but there we go. Finally down. JJ, he has barely any health, and Lily is bleeding out. There's not much of a chance here for Guts to make it work, and they don't. Cloud9 finally making amends on many of the issues that they had on their attacking half and take their first attacking round of overtime.
And there it is, Cloud9, the proof is in the pudding, are the masters of somehow kitchen attacks onto Arsenal with no Hibana. They get the job done just as well with an ace. So you love to see it. They really hamstrung Guts by banning that Hibana, and they have absolutely no issues attacking kitchen without it. So wonderful stuff to see Cloud9, despite not having a significant numbers advantage onto the bomb site. They still managed to make that happen. I guess the 2 kills at the start from Charles did help out a little bit. But of course, the tables have turned again, and we are back with the defense for Cloud9. Now, this should in theory favor them. And what's actually quite different is to the previous round is whereas Cloud9 had already won Church and Arsenal on the attack before they had to attack it in overtime just then, Guts haven't actually won Church and Arsenal yet. The bomb site that they won was Cash CCTV. So if Guts win this now, this will be a first.
And if Guts win this now, then we go all the way to maximum overtime, or maximum overtime match point, and it really comes down to the wire. And I think that really sets up a precedent here that we didn't necessarily expect. This was definitely the series today that we thought there was a lot more of an imbalance in the expectations for. Guts Gaming, yes, they've had their moments to shine, they've had their good days throughout APAC North, but they haven't been quite Cloud9. But right now, they are making Cloud9 not necessarily look like they're quite Cloud9. And so if they can take this to overtime match point, that just sets an incredibly exciting precedent. But they have to get there first. And Cloud9 are on their preferred half, or pretty much everyone's preferred half here on Clubhouse of defense. And Harper's playing it very patiently, just waiting for someone to come through the bathroom, but he will retreat instead.
Keep in mind, while we're saying that this is an important map for Cloud9 to win, this is even more important for Guts. Keeping in mind that this is their map pick. The next map is Theme Park, which is not a map that they play. And Cloud9 clearly have an ace up their sleeve if they're the ones who have decided to bring it. Guts may well have not even practiced Theme Park up until this moment. So there's not a lot of info to go off, but it's safe to assume map 2 should heavily favor Cloud9, much more heavily than this one. Guts have to get it done here. On the flip side, remember the August Major, right? Cloud9 only dropped one map throughout the entire thing. It was Clubhouse, but it was to Giants, and it was in the grand final. And it's possible that Cloud9 could even win this series without dropping a map, and maybe even do some more damage going into the rest of the tournament.
I mean, Cloud9, they're down with the little people now because they're learning what it's like to not have a bye.
Yes.
You know, they don't just have that step forward that's been handed to them. They have to graft like the rest of us. And so far, it seems to be working. Shell's just ready underneath the hatch, but actually it's a nice C4 from Harper to start things off. That's the sledge that's been removed from the arsenal of Guts Gaming, because they still look to open up the kitchen, narrowly missing out on the second C4 is Crazy Papillon, and maybe they could start to get some shots down through as they begin to open up the kitchen hatch.
I thought that was a joke there with the Arsenal. Said they're Arsenal because they're attacking the Arsenal bomb site. No? Okay, never mind. You're at least finds one pick. That's nice. MV Taylor goes and takes up the position that was forfeited by Charles losing his life. 4v4. The Guts still have some presence pressuring blue, which is really important, and they have that kitchen hatch open, which is also really important. So I would say this could definitely go either way. It may well be dictated by this very gunfight right here.
I love the shield placement, but MB Taylor is facing some adversity from multiple angles, and he can't quite get the kill. That means Yura has the opportunity to take control. He's just looking, well, was looking over towards Arsenal himself, and there's Harper going down as well. More control taken by Guts, but look how much time there is left. It's not much. And with Nova getting up 2k, 3k, can he add on to that to bring Crazy Papillon down as well? He does not have much of an opportunity to try. Cloud9 finally take round number 14. And after having to fight for it more than I think they expected, they take the victory on Clubhouse.
A well-deserved victory in the final round, all on the shoulders of Nova. The smoke player steps up to clutch when needed. Guts had everything in their corner when it came to that execute. They had control, they had the blue control, and they had the opening picks. But Cloud9 have everything they need to take their opponent's map pick. My goodness, Gio, they are setting themselves very up for a clean 2-0 here and a ticket straight into the semifinals.
Yeah, I mean, I had my doubts. I felt like it was an emotional roller coaster, constantly going up and down between these two teams. I think Guts did really, really well, but there is going to be a huge question mark over Theme Park, which is going to be the next map. But James, before we get there, let's have a quick little break. We're going to just watch some nice things, and then we'll get to see the analysts and what they think before heading into the next map.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Analyst Desk. Cap and Dev on here. Dev, I know you were casting the game with Geos. A lot of action happening in here. But let's talk about this first map in the series between Guts and Cloud9. Clubhouse, very close. We ended up going all the way into overtime, where Cloud9 winning their attacking round and the defensive one to end it out and clinch out the victory against Guts on that first map. One thing that really stood out, and we were all talking about it, is how immensely defensive sided this map was even more than the usual.
Yeah, a couple of things really surprised me, actually. 5-1 half is not what we would expect. And yes, I know we talk about APAC attack, but if you look at the standard from stage 2 in Clubhouse, it's a 60% defensive win rate. 5-1 is more than 60% defensive sided. So I was a bit surprised. Yeah, look, I'm not going to do the maths and try and figure out what it is because I know I'm going to be wrong. I'll leave that to you, Hat. But I will say I was a bit surprised. I was really worried for Guts when they lost. They only won one round on their attacking half. But thankfully, they redeemed themselves by evening up the scoreline, eventually pushing overtime. I think that going back to Church, though, in overtime for their defensive round was a mistake. It was the only bomb site that they had lost already to Cloud9. I think it just was not the play to go back to it.
Was that a 16.5% thing,
No, it was at 83.3 with a little bit of a dash above it because the 3 keeps on going.
Yeah, so 16 out of 16.5 off of
16.
the 100.
6.
Wow.
All right, Satan.
Recurring, as Gio is saying, very true.
Yeah, recurring.
She's the physicist here. So
Gio is always recurring when I'm casting.
How do you survive through this?
Well, I mean, Cloud9 definitely survived due to Nova being able to pick up that triple kill with the SMG near the end there. I think if he wouldn't have been able to pick up that round would have gone to Guts, and then they would have been on their defense for the next strike as well, which, well, as we just mentioned, all these percentages, we tossed them in the air, would have been not that good for Cloud9. So they really can give Nova a little bit of a back tap there because he definitely saved them that matchup, because I think otherwise Guts could have taken it, really.
Definitely could have. That first attacking round for Cloud9 ending up saving their behinds in overtime. Now I want to move on to our next map. Just still have a couple minutes before we go on to map 2, Theme Park. And what is the big theme of the map, Dev? Because you mentioned it very briefly in the pre-game talk.
The theme of this park is that we don't even know where it is. These teams don't play it. It's the most banned map for Cloud9 and the second most banned map for Guts. The only time Guts have ever played it was in the APAC North Japanese qualifier where they lost it 3-7. I know that's going back a while. Hey, That was in March. And I mean, that was a Japanese only stream. I can't even believe I have that stat recorded. My spreadsheet is just too powerful, even for my memory. And the only times we've seen Cloud9 play it was way back in March, plus one time more recently in the Korean tournament. So overall, really not much info. I don't think Guts would have expected Cloud9 to pick it. They've never picked it before. This is an ace up Cloud9 sleeve. And they do have that 7-1 against GC Busan in the Korean Open. So by all rights, this should be Cloud9's favored, but we don't know, right? There's only so much conjecture we can have.
Do we know who starts on which side, by the way? I don't know if you have the sheets in front of you.
I haven't checked it. Maybe James can check in the meantime. But
I haven't.
Cloud9 attack. Well, I was going to say, given the fact how defense-sided the last map was on Clubhouse, I think that's only going to get worse here for Theme Park, because Theme Park is more so known as a defensive-sided map, where Clubhouse is starting to get more tilted towards a balanced side of things every now and then. Today they got thrown out of the window, of course, with the overtime we had. But given the fact that the defense was so forward, so pressing during the previous map, I think that Guts is going to have a good time as they start off on the defense.
Map 3 or not, then Hap, very quick. Yes, no?
Cloud9 picks this for a reason, so I dare to say no.
Dev?
No, Guts had to win that execute in that final round of Clubhouse, or otherwise I think they're going down 2-0.
All right, Hap, James, thanks so much on the analyst desk. James, I'm going to have you put on your best, the flash suit. You run all the way to Geo for our next map, Theme Park, between Guts and Cloud9. Will we go to Consulate? That is the big question. Let's toss it over back to our casters. Enjoy.
Is James doing a transition? I think that's what he's doing, because he thinks he's funny.
I'm back, guys.
And
That's
cool.
a lead around the block.
That was so fast. You're so impressive, James.
Thank you, Gio.
I didn't mean it. But you know what's impressive? What's impressive is the fact that Cloud9 were able to claw their ways back into a victory at the end of Clubhouse. And now we are about to see what is potentially going to be the most unprecedented map of this entire competition. Cloud9 have decided that their map pick is going to be Theme Park. They haven't been on it in APAC North, and Guts have only played it once. I believe they lost to Fav, correct me if I'm wrong, and it didn't look that great. So this is full of unknowns, and both you and I think everybody at home are hoping and assuming that Cloud9 have been practicing this in secret and they've got something special to show us.
And today we tell you the tale of Cloud9. They practiced in secret, they forged a dark weapon, and it was called Theme Park. And as we found that fateful day, Guts Gaming were fighting from behind, and they got the first operator ban. And as we all waited in anticipation, having absolutely no damn clue what it might be, we filled until the timer ticked to 0, and it indeed said ace.
Please don't ever do that voice again. What even was that meant to be?
Honestly, I can't even believe that you work with me. I can't.
But I don't think I have a choice. I'm not sure about that fact.
That's damn straight.
Yeah, that was
I
not
apologize
anything
to
you should ever do again.
All right. Well, how about I just put on my business pants and
I was just gonna say in my normal voice, Thatcher will join Ace.
Yeah.
What
well,
are you going to
Thatcher
say
is
in your normal voice, James?
I'm going to say that Thatcher is the operator that Cloud9 banned against GBS in the Korean Open back in August. Maestro was not, however, their second ban. They got rid of the mirror. Cloud9 have shown that they're not afraid of using mirror. We saw it a bunch on Clubhouse. Mirror is incredibly potent on this bomb site, however. On this map, on just about every bomb site. So yeah. I expect that to be the final ban here. Maybe Wamai. Theme Park is notorious for its shield play, so it is a bit of a tough decision here for Guts. They're just going to leave both of them in, and I actually kind of get this, right? You get rid of the Valkyrie. There's lots of good Cloud9 players on that operator, but you leave the big hitters of Mira and Wamai on the table because you start on defense anyway, right? So Guts should be pretty optimistic here about exiting the first half at maybe a 5-1 lead.
I'm very interested, particularly in the fact that because the Mirror and the Wamai have been left in, and Guts aren't going to pick either unless they 6-pick onto them. But as far as it looks right now, Guts aren't going to pick either, so this isn't necessarily relevant for this round, but could become relevant in the future. But the fact that both Mirror and Wamai have been left in is a real big risk for Cloud9, knowing that they're starting on attack. On this map, attack is already really disadvantageous. It is significantly harder than defense, and that's quite notable. You see that across many different regions, that here on Theme Park, defense is so much more advantaged. And so if you are leaving in those really powerful defensive operators, that can give your opponent such a head start that it'll make your second half really, really difficult. And I think that's a big risk. But as we've said before, Cloud9 clearly, or at least you would assume, have been scrimming this and have an ace up their sleeve. Maybe they know what they're doing. They've already thought this through. You would hope so, but it's still a concern.
And to kick this off, what we're talking about, I think the running theme here, pardon my pun, is that Theme Park is very defensive sided, right? And ironically, actually, stage 1 was not the case. It was actually attacker sided in APAC, but I'll just put that down to the fact that it was such a small sample size. But this bomb site particularly that we're seeing right now, Armory Throne Room, is the most defensive favored bomb site, I should say, in the entire of APAC North. It was 81% defender favored, and you can't even say that's a small sample size because that was played 16 times. That is a pretty damning stat here. So if Cloud9 win this round, that's kind of damning, isn't it, for Cloud9? You would expect Cloud9 to win both of the times that they would head to this bomb site during this map. And if not, well, Cloud9, you're impressing me. But these are the guys who brought out Theme Park when we never would have expected it. I'm ready to be surprised and impressed.
I have to say, I do like the Jackal pick, because even though, you know, here on Armory and Throne, you're always going to have anchor play. One of the things that they do know caused them a bit of grief in that last map was the roam that was being played by both Yura and Lily, and I think that's going to be really pivotal to get rid of. And some of the other players, clearly Crazy Papillon is off site as well right now as we watch him. Getting rid of those players as early as they possibly can, and having the information on them that you can derive from an operator like Jackal,
my God, wait, what?
will really
They're
help.
rushing!
But wow, okay. Guts are getting those first 2 early kills, but Cloud9 still do come back with 1. They don't really have any drones. They've got 1 left. So no information. This is totally blind. They're still going in, going for the defuse, but instead Static stops. Yura's just trying to sneak around, and Lily too coming from the other angle. They could get pinched here, but Xiao is ready. Static going for the defuse once again. Guts are being a bit more patient, but that doesn't work out for Yura, and suddenly the diffuser is down. Xiao doesn't get downed either. Cloud9 making attack work here on Theme Park.
Honestly, I have absolutely no idea what I just witnessed, but that is, we said it would be pretty damning for Guts if Cloud9 could steal a defense, or rather an attack, onto the most defensive bomb site in APAC North. And guess what, Gio? They did just that. And what a stylish way to get the job done as well. 1 minute and 32 seconds remaining on the clock, right? That's directly halfway through the round. And Cloud9 decided to, as the technical term we use here in APAC North, yeet the bomb site. They yeeted that bomb site so damn hard. And guess what? Guts actually found the first pick. It was JJ to take down Nova, but what? I'm pretty sure that they were traded back for 2 picks. Wait, no, actually Guts won that initial trade, but guess what? Then Guts is just relying on their roamers to try and retake the bomb site. The reason that bomb site is so defensive favored is because it's really hard to peek through those 2 funnels, the 2 doors, one on the east side, one on the west side, because you're walking the crossfires.
I'm sorry. In what room is the one that's on the west side again? Because I remember there was someone who we casted. Yeah, this room here.
Splits. I don't know, but I feel like does that room have any? I don't think that room has any eyebrows.
I'm not sure it has a name, because you would assume that casters would know, right?
There's a sorry, bless me. Sorry, I really should have muted my mic.
It's never gonna get old.
Sorry.
It's never gonna get old.
Sorry.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Desert2 does not know where Split is in this map. So.
Yeah, and we like to bully him for it. I mean, we like to bully Des in general.
Yeah, and then he went and shaved off his eyebrows, inviting us to bully him yet more. He just makes it so easy.
As much as we bully him, you know, he's a good lad. You know, he shaved off his eyebrows for charity, and as a result, we now have even more stuff to bully him for. So not is he being generous to charity, but he's being generous to us as well.
Just the gift that keeps on giving.
That's it. Thank you, Derry.
Well, Cloud9 are coming in for their next attack, and if they can make it work quite as well as that last one, I'm going to be incredibly impressed knowing how the sides usually fare. But Guts Gaming are watching out for those kitchen windows. As Cloud9 start to drone in through Cafe. Guts Gaming here on Bunk and Daycare, and they're actually quite close to the site. In this instance, you oftentimes see someone holding the top arcade to prevent anyone moving in through the arcade window or that general direction as the attack is. And they do have a Goyo shield present there, but I don't think anyone is actually positioned there right now as it stands.
Nice nade. Wow, look at the fire.
Gets rid of the Goyo shield.
My goodness, I did not know the fire actually. Is that going off the side of the... Wait a second. What's happening here, Cloud9? Absolutely uncontained. They have the bomb site once again. In a 4 versus 3 man advantage, MV Taylor just popping off. Static just sitting in here, using some util to clear out any, I believe, Banshees that might be in that hallway. Maybe trying to flush out someone from that corner position. And wait a second, I'm absolutely clueless. This ain't the bomb site, that's just daycare. I thought that this was the daycare bomb site, but it's actually initiation. A bit of a whoopsie for me, but...
Oh, I thought it was... I've written it down as bunk and daycare. I think that's because
I actually wrote it down as office initiation, so I blame you. So I had it right until you were just
It's
a bad
because they
influence on me.
originally went there. I always write down the first thing that comes up, and then sometimes they change the site, and I just completely forget about it and zone out. Well, anyway,
well.
Nova getting another kill on the board, so Cloud9 is still continuing on the Reign of Terror. But Lily right directly below the hatch could try and catch them out. Doesn't work. That gives Cloud9 a lot more dominance, and they take their second attacking round.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to hear Milosh talk about how defensive-sided this map is, because Cloud9 are certainly just dashing any expectations that we might have had. And I think it's just the gusto that they bring. And yeah, well, that was technically a rush, and while it was technically not onto the bomb site, that was still most definitely a rush. Cloud9 tight on their players, pushing together, absolutely exploded onto Daycare. Yura, get the off Tachanka, mate. You're not allowed to pick Tachanka at the moment in competitive matches. Yeah, that's what I thought, mate. You go back to Goya.
Disgusting. And this time it actually is Bunk and Daycare. I just wanna. I saw it down there, and I was like, you better stay there. You better.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be too surprised if they decided to go to the only other bomb site, which is... Oh, wait, no. I just assumed that they won 2 defenses in a row and they were locked, but now they actually they have all of them open because they've just been... They've been getting styled on right here. And, yeah, goodness gracious me, this has been quite a game. And I really like this. So, obviously, this is not a map that Guts usually play. They have some fundamental understanding of how the map works, credit to them. But Cloud9 are just taking the expectations that Guts would have and throwing them out the window, because Cloud9 are not playing usual theme park right now. They're playing very unusual theme park. They're taking advantage of the fact that maybe Guts isn't prepared for these unusual plays. JJ, you jump onto the railing and then you jump up. Jump onto the railing.
No, you know,
No,
he was
JJ.
honestly he was just doing some aerobics.
No,
He
he's
has me
trying
now-
to jump up
he
onto
has-
the...
No, trust me. He hasn't been able to get to the gym during COVID, so he's just wanted like running up and down the stairs, like burns off some calories. Try it sometime.
Okay.
Actually, don't. You're a noodle.
Alright.
You don't need to lose any weight.
Thanks, mate. Thanks. I'm feeling the love, as always. Now, what he was trying to do was actually jump onto that little platform at the top of the yellow stairs. But, yeah, you have to jump onto the railing to do that. So, to me, that's just a signal that JJ has not played much theme park. He does not know how to jump on that, which is a shame, because even I know how to do that, and I'm just a rank star. So, it feels bad for JJ.
Yeah, all right. You can stop stroking your own ego. Like on I'm better than JJ. All right, well.
Oh, yeah, that's totally what I
You
was suggesting.
sub in. You go and sub in. You do it.
All right, sorry, guys. Oh, my God.
No, I was about to say Crazy Papillon's right there. He's going to catch Xiao out. And Envy Taylor ensured that did not happen.
He certainly
Down
caught
from
something.
below. Oh my goodness, that was painful.
Yeah, and Cloud9 are once again ahead. Now they have had the first pick 2 rounds in a row, not letting off any steam. There has been a retaliation. Charles gone down. 134 on the clock. This is usually about the time that we see Cloud9 execute onto the bomb site, but no, not just this round. They're doing something a bit more tempered. It's a smart move, and well, Guts are really fighting back at the moment. Lily tracked out, but still doing some damage. Takes down Envy Taylor. Static eager to push up those arcade stairs, but knows that's a losing fight should he take the close quarters engagement with the SMG-11 or with that shotgun. 3v4 now, and this may well be the first round that swings Guts' way.
He's going to have to go for it, but he doesn't catch Lily out. There's the trade, though. Lily making it a 2K. And barely getting into the last minute of the round, Guts ensure that will not swing the way of Cloud9, maintaining control of the important staircases and stunting their push. Now Cloud9 actually feel what it's maybe actually supposed to be like, attacking onto Theme Park.
Now they got the job done eventually, but realistically here, with 63% defensive-sided Theme Park, as we have seen on average throughout APAC North League Stage 2, Guts should be expecting for a 4-2 half. That means they will need to win every single defense here to do what we would call par for the course on Theme Park. I don't see that as happening, Gio. Even should Guts get some momentum here, they've actually gone to the 4th bomb site. They've now, as of this one, done a round the world trip of every single bomb site choice available on this map. Even if they win here on Lab, they're going to have to go back to one of the bomb sites that they've already lost. And while Cloud9 might not catch off Guts with a rush, I think Cloud9 are going to have more insight as to how Guts play and what kind of weaknesses there are that C9 can exploit.
I'd actually really enjoy seeing a rush on this site, because that's the crazy thing about Lab, and the interesting thing about this site is because it is on the periphery of the map and it's right on the corner and there are windows directly into it. If you feel brave enough to jump in through those windows, there's one that Easy was showing us, the next one right there you go. If you do feel brave enough to jump in and overwhelm the opponents that are on the site, yeah, we've seen that work. It's definitely worked before. That's why sometimes you see a lot of defending teams bring along someone like a Capcan. I suppose in some instances you could bring a Frost. I mean, we've already seen that work today, to catch teams out that like to do that. It doesn't look like that's what Guts are expecting, as clearly they brought operators like a Pulse, for example, who you typically use to give information vertically, which is another way that you can choose to attack onto this site, and you can play that more, I'd say, strategic and smart and patient route with the vertical angles. But given how Cloud9 have been playing, I could imagine them doing either way. There's a nade that'll be lost, and Taylor won't be getting any value out of that one as it's caught up in a one-mine magnet.
For the lesser initiated here on Theme Park, the lab storage bomb site typically is defended by, as you were saying, it's very vulnerable to just people jumping into the bomb site. So usually you have a couple on the bomb site to stop that from happening. In particular, the Smoke, JJ, is a great operator for that, because if he starts to feel the pressure, he can just gas a window and know that no one will jump in. But another really important part is the roam game on this map, particularly on this bomb site, because a lot of the roof above the bomb site is soft and can thus be destroyed by the attackers and utilized to take out those anchors on the bomb site, which is why Light's on the roam here. He's ensuring that C9 can't just take this break room for free. But now, Light's feeling the pressure of that Jackal scan, as you can see in the bottom left corner of your screen. He was scanned out. Crazy's also on the roam. He's a much more dangerous roamer, though, because he has that pulse scanner, which in tandem with a C4 may find one of C9 players' feet. But Lily is just feeling at home here on the arcade stairs. Takes down the first player, that pesky Jackal. Might eat a nade here.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, Cloud9 knew that they had to get that cleared. They knew that that was where Lily liked to be. He had been, and that also makes it a lot safer now for MV Taylor to actually get to work in opening up the cafe floor, because he hasn't got to worry about Lily coming and flanking him and catching him out from behind. And where the rest of Cloud9 is set up, here on the top floor, he knows that all of those angles surrounding him are covered, and he has that kind of support. Light and Crazy Papillon are also being pushed back in towards Armory as the hatch is opened in the yellow corridor, so they don't want to be directly below that. And it also means that, you know, someone like Crazy Papillon on the Pulse is now a bit further away from the information that he wants to be giving to the rest of his team. Long Angle trying to be caught there, doesn't quite get Light as he watches over towards where his adversary is. But once again, no deaths going either way.
Here's the execute. It's late for Cloud9 in a 4v4. MV Taylor whips out the SMG-11, but he loses the gunfight. It's all for Guts Gaming. Static can find one or two, but they're just consolation prizes. And Guts Gaming, with two back-to-back defenses, make their mark on this map and even the scoreline.
All of the work and the effort that Cloud9 put in to take that methodically, make sure they were clearing out players where they had to, pushing them aside, influencing their positioning, making sure that they had the position they needed to be in to provide the relevant pressure. I suppose at the end of the day, if you end up making an execute that late, there is always the risk that you just won't have the time to play with to really properly set yourself up and secure yourself that position. That's what happened. They tried to take those kills. They came in from the other side. They couldn't make it work. So now the scoreline is evened out. We've spoken about this before, however, about how you would expect it to be going this way for the defenders anyway. So I don't think it's a big panic for Cloud9. At the end of the day, they could lose the next round and still, or the next 2 rounds, sorry, and still know they've done their job on this half.
Yeah, I said par for the course for Guts here is minimum 4 defense wins, right? The flip side of that, from Cloud9's perspective is you get 2 attack rounds on Theme Park and you're pretty well set for at least overtime. All you got to do is just win your average 4 out of 6 defenses and you guarantee overtime. If you win 5 out of 6, then, you know, that's all over Red Rover. Cloud9 move on to the semi-finals against, well, a rematch actually against Cyclops, which I would love to see. But Guts certainly also want their revenge against Cyclops, an old rival in the Japanese Pro League for a very long time. But they've got a lot of work ahead of them. As you said, they certainly need to step it up here. Cloud9 are pretty happy with how this map's gone so far. Even though Guts have that momentum back in their corner, it may well not be enough.
Well, we'll see how it does go, knowing that they are now starting to return to some of the sites that they visited before, given that they've been to all of them now. You said they've been all around the world. And this is office initiation. I'm gonna get it right that time. Which they failed to successfully defend the first time round. So if they can right the wrongs here, then that's going to put Cloud9 in a position where maybe they don't feel so confident about how effective their attack can be. They're not rushing in the same way that they did before, though.
Oh, they're playing completely opposite. They're playing really methodically. In fact, as we noticed, Static went downstairs in lab and disabled that mirror from below, popped the canister, breached the floor. Charles actually made his way into break. This is a really impactful position, but he may well just find a 1v1 gunfight, and if he loses it, there's no potential for a refrag. That gas softens up him a little bit. He finds 1 kill. My goodness. Charles doing some work, but his movement is restricted. And Crazy Papillon is still here, and he's ready for that refrag. It may take some time, but Guts Gaming are well and truly holding on here to this roam, this extension into daycare. And MV Taylor, he once again evens up that man count. This is back and forth, Gio, with no clear winner at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think Crazy Papillon's also going to be feeling confident knowing that his position is not necessarily going to be threatened by MV Taylor as his nades are gone. And Guts Gaming getting 2 kills does leave Harper all on his lonesome. He's carrying just 1 smoke, but he's got to find where these players even are first. He can't pick up Crazy Papillon, and Guts Gaming secure themselves another defensive round.
Yeah, it very much has been the case that the tide has turned and we're back onto Guts' domain on the defense. Only 1 round left, and it may well be that they take this half in a 4-2 scoreline. And with how things have transpired thus far, I very much expect that to be the case. It's been a great, well, second half to this first half for Guts. And I will credit them. They stood their ground. It's got to be fairly demoralizing to lose a round to a rush and then a second round to your extension setup off the bomb site being taken out just by essentially a rush as well. So I will credit Guts. It takes a lot of persistence to bounce back and resilience to bounce back from a deficit, especially knowing that you have the pressure of winning 4 minimum to basically get the par for defense on this map. Oh, we'll see. There's still a chance for Cloud9 to make it an even half. It is Bunk and Daycare. This was where Guts began their streak of defense rounds.
Oh, I'm getting nostalgic. No, I mean, I think
way back in the day, 10 minutes
I know, all the way back then. What I like about this though is it's I don't know, it's a bit early to say because we haven't got to the half yet, but it does give me the impression that even though Guts, the only time that they've played this in APAC North, they lost it. Cloud9 clearly came in with some tricks up their sleeves. They came in prepared. Guts have still had the wherewithal to be able to hang in this game. That could change when Cloud9 switch on over to defense, which is, as a team, their preferred side, as a map, their preferred side. It falls very much in their favor, and the cards really work towards them. So I don't want to be too quick to say anything, but I am impressed nonetheless, the fact that Guts still have been able to pull these last 3 rounds out, knowing what a surprise this likely was for this team.
As much as we can say some consoling words to Guts Gaming right now, on the flip side of that, if this is a map which, as we theorize, Guts have really no intention of playing, typically, remember, best of 1 season, they get 3 bans every single play day. if that is the case, they can get away with a couple defense round wins just doing default stuff. Like, everyone knows the basics of how to play Theme Park at this level, at least. Like, these players all know the fundamentals. And Guts, they're not doing any crazy, unbelievable strats. So what I'm getting at, right, is the fact that when we switch over to Guts on the attack, that's really where you need to have practiced, right? Defense, you can kind of wing it because you know the basics of how the map works. Attack, oh man, I'm scared for Guts. Add to that the fact that the problem solving from the attacking perspective is going to be incredibly difficult with both Wamai, Jaeger, and Mira on the board. It gives so much flexibility to the defenders and what kind of anchor positions they can set up. And it's really going to come down to how well these attackers can problem solve that. At the moment, we're even seeing Cloud9 struggle with that. As you can see, I believe that was a nade to try and flush out Crazy Papillon's position. And some flashbangs from Nova to waste his ADS, but still, Crazy Papillon has a lot of util stacked here. This nade may be what he needs, but it only destroys the Goyo shield, and elsewhere, Lily finds, I believe, his 5th kill this game, his 6th kill this game, 7th kill this game from the arcade stairs. Every single one of Lily's kills this map has been from the same position, and he's holding his team together. Every kill this round has been thanks to him holding down the forts, and Cloud9 have well and truly fallen to pieces.
Yeah, this man is on absolute fire. We've said some nice words about Nova, but I think on his own, he's really going to struggle to achieve all that much. Moving towards Lily's stomping grounds, he's probably going to be filled with fear at this point, but Lily is back on the site. He's got to try and get all 3 of them all by himself. I don't think it's going to work. It doesn't. And that means as we head into the half, a 4-2 split for Guts Gaming, but this is where things get serious.
Very much so. Guts have finally made a comeback since those 2 blips at the start of this map. Those 2 missed opportunities that Cloud9 ripped from right under their faces. But Guts, they've stood back up, gotten on the horse, and made some reparations. Now they have that par scoreline, 4-2 defense, exactly what they wanted. But this is really where things get more difficult, more complicated for the Guts roster. Do they have what it takes to win even 2 attack rounds here on Theme Park against Cloud9? One thing I will say is I just find it hilarious, the fact that all 7 of Lily's kills this entire map has been from the arcade stairs. Like, what's he going to do on attack? He can't just sit on the arcade stairs the entire attack
You don't
round.
know that. He could.
Maybe he will.
You don't know him.
I'm not the boss of him. I can't tell him what to do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, yeah, maybe not. He's playing Sledge. But
So?
that, does put him, well, I mean, I suppose,
not
yeah,
playing
he could sit on the arcade stairs, but it puts him in a position where he's going to be in I guess a number of different places, opening up the holes above. You can only do that above part of this bomb site anyway, but doing that above, which means he's going to be a constant nuisance and a constant pest. And I think that's one thing that Cloud9 may have to remain vigilant of, is the fact that it has definitely come to their attention throughout the course of this series that there are 1 or 2 players on Guts Gaming who have been that pest role against them, who have caused them grief. And that's something that they'll have to continue to bear in mind heading into this half.
See how Guts Gaming deal with this defense. It's a very heavy roam here on the Throne and Armory bomb site. As we said, the most defensive favored bomb site in all of APAC North. Now, there's an asterisk there because technically Penthouse Theater has a 100% win rate, but it's only been played once. So due to small sample size, I'm not going to count that. 81% for Armory Throne Room on this map is the most defensive favored bomb site, asterisk, in APAC North. And part of the reason why Theme Park is so very defensive sided is because the mid round is incredibly challenging for an attacking squadron. Taking map control is very difficult. And we see combinations of strong roams, like we're seeing from Cloud9, in combination with strong anchor presence. You've got wall denial, we've got Mute and Kaid in tandem. We don't even have any deployable shields. They're not even necessary here. Not the way Cloud9 are playing this. They're emphasizing that roam. They're emphasizing a lot of offsite reinforcements on the top floor. And you'll notice Shao and Envy Taylor both just moved down. Like, they've wasted half the round. Now Guts are going to try and mess about, you know, mavericking that roof upstairs. This is just, like, way too slow for Guts. And it goes to show why Cloud9 only had enough time to execute in 2 out of their 6 rounds when they were attacking this map.
Yeah, they have definitely had their pace set for them by the defending team. One thing that is interesting, Cloud9 have already used 2 of their C4s. They only have 1 remaining. And that's not necessarily make or break for anything, but having those wasted early on at the very least was something that Guts Gaming was able to force them to do. Oh, actually, they've used all of their C4s now, as we are being shown, but they do still have the impacts. Envy Taylor, regardless, is going to be sat right underneath the hatch here in Split, but won't be hanging around to try and catch anybody out. Instead, just holding firm on the site itself.
Time is ticking away. Less than 30 seconds, and while the hatch is open, there's no real breach, and Charles still has a roam in Drug Lab. In fact, I think there are 3 potentially players roaming. While JJ does get a breach on the barrel's wall, it'll be a late and desperate push. Static starts the proceedings, but there are frags for the attack as well. It's 1 for 1 for 1, and we see the attack only with Lily remaining. And since he's not on the arcade stairs, he can't find a kill. Cloud9 clean sweep in the refrag fest. And that is the first defense round for them.
Oh, they just made it look clean at the end there. You know, it's just 1 down, another down, another down. You know, it's like DJ Khaled. He would know. He gets it.
Another one.
Another one.
I got that pop culture reference. I'm proud of myself.
I'm glad. I actually am really poor with references, so I'm really proud of myself that I made one. Just thank you. I was wondering if the Kavira was going to be 6-picked off of. Didn't want to get too excited about seeing a particularly spicy pick, but going to, surprise, surprise, it's Mirror. She's available on a map that really likes Mirror, and he played it in the last round. Unfathomable. But this is maybe not necessarily the site that Guts expect to be going to. They'll obviously drain it out basically immediately, but Lab is not a common site to go to second.
Yeah, what's funny is I was checking the stats before, and I'll bring them back up. Lab is, you know how I said that Throne is the #1 most defensive favored bomb site, asterisk, in the entire of APAC North? Well, guess what the second most defensive favored bomb site in the entire of APAC North is, Gia?
Is it Lab?
It is! Yes!
Oh my god!
I hope that didn't clip the microphone. and with a decent number of picks as well. Like, it's actually tied for least picked, along with Initiation Office Room. Funnily enough, Lab Storage has a 75% defensive win rate, whereas Initiation Office has a 25% defensive win rate.
Wow.
So that's definitely...
Is this just in APAC?
Immense dichotomy. Just in APAC North, Division Stage 2 only.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And that's,
Also,
I mean, eight plays is enough to go off, in my opinion, to judge a bomb site.
Yeah. Can I just... It's an asterisk. Not an asterisk.
Alright.
James.
Well, maybe there was an obelisk with it. Obelix. Far out.
We do have French production. They'll probably appreciate that reference.
I love those comics. Love them.
Yeah, you're so lame. Anyway, so given that this is such a highly defended bomb site here in APAC North, it obviously lends itself to Cloud9. And if they do secure this round, they even things out. And being on this advantageous side, they can potentially just run away with that momentum. And Guts Gaming are going to really struggle to meet the fated 6-round requirement in order to, at the very least, take things into overtime. So I would imagine that Cloud9 aren't necessarily feeling too pressured. One of the things that we noted very much about that last round was just how much time they wasted of Guts in at least the first half of the round, preventing Guts from really achieving much in that time. And if at the very least they can do that again, then Cloud9 are going to be sitting pretty.
They're certainly sitting pretty right now. But Light's starting to make his maneuver. He has control of Armory and Throne. Important ground to take here. on this attack, but actually Cloud9 has forfeited it. They've instead emphasized one player inside blue barrels. I believe that's Harper. Surely Light has info. Crazy's gonna drone it. Actually was not inside barrels, but sitting at the rotate in the hallway. Actually loses half his HP to that nade through the wall, but survives. Crazy spots him out on the drone. But look at this heavy roam upstairs. Harper, Envy, and Charles. And it's only one player from the attack to contest. Yura better enable these shots. Okay, I didn't see JJ. Comes from behind, finds one. Yura eventually goes down, but Harper knows he's bitten off a bit more than he can chew, and he jumps all the way down. Some shots from the bearing are not enough to take down that player, but they are enough to dissuade. And in fact, he could potentially sprint over for this kill. That player will be fully flashed, but the coverage comes through from Charles, and there's absolutely no time left on the clock for this execute. 15 seconds and Cloud9 have bought themselves enough of space to breathe. But Guts Gaming with the late execute can turn things on their head once again. Static alone now, just biding his time, but the diffuser will be secured and Lily will find the final kill. What on earth was that round?
Oh my goodness, when he jumped down and you could tell that Charles was trying to be careful and patient just to ensure he timed it correctly and could take his opponents by surprise, and he was just right there, so perfectly placed, and Guts could just walk straight in. Oh, it was beautiful, and Guts managed to achieve something that Cloud9 failed to when they attacked onto Lab back in round 4. And the thing with this now is it just makes you think, could this be a pattern? I mean, it's a big ask. It's not necessarily something that is necessarily likely, but it's still an exciting prospect.
The thing that really amazed me, from in particular spectating the Guts players, was they seemed to always know where the enemy was. In particular, remember that first player we saw, I think it was Light, moving in through Throne. I don't know whether he had a sound cue or whether he had already previously droned out that defender around the barrels room in that hallway. He was already cooking a nade before Crazy Papillon had set his drone there, so he somehow knew. Later on as well, JJ reflashed the yellow stairs twice, so he must have known that that player was prone still halfway up the stairs rather than all the way down. This suggests to me that Guts are really, really good with their info gathering. I don't think it's been a lot of the Jackal pings. I think it's actually more so just been really good drone work. And keep in mind here that, well, that's an attack round that we had definitely not expected Guts to win from the midpoint in the round. And even from just going into this, knowing that Cloud9, this was meant to be the ace up their sleeve with Guts not really being favored on this map. So I'm startled and impressed by Guts.
Oh, me too. And this is what I was saying on the other round, and you didn't quite believe me. You were so ready to set up a contrast and be like, this is difficult and you're wrong. And maybe I am still wrong. But in that last round, it certainly looked like there was still a chance. And I love it because Cloud9 came to this map thinking it was a ha-ha got him, and it might not be. They're still failed so far to even out the scoreline, and Guts are edging ever closer to the elusive match point. I suppose a map point, given that we're in a best of 3. But you get the idea.
I guess so, but you know, we use the terms interchangeably, don't we? Here, we don't judge. I'm still startled. I can't get over that. Like, look at, you know how I said that? Well, okay, first pick goes to C9. Nice one, Nova. That's holding down the fort in 9. Okay, wow. Wait a second. That first pick goes the way of C9, and Gus just turn up the heat and try and immediately refrag it. On a dime. Like, it just turned straight away. Now, not only did Gus have a 4v3 man advantage, but Nova's down. So it's effectively a 4v2. Static will try this revive. He may well get swung. He's not. JJ turns the corner in just another moment. He might find a second kill.
They're not afraid, and I think this is the thing. Guts know that they shouldn't play afraid. They have to play with confidence and conviction, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're so close here on the site. You can see one of those players of Cloud9 getting prone. They want to catch out Guts, but they spotted it. JJ ensures Nova goes down. Now he's just ready and waiting for someone in the yellow corridor. Harper does get a kill for himself, but there's only 2 left on Cloud9. If Lily can be resurrected, then that puts Guts in a particularly good position. And he is just right there. Light might be able to sort it out and ensure that Guts are in that situation. There's still 30 seconds. They still have time to take this. They just want to get out the way just in case Static can poke through to the upper arcade and catch them out. But JJ, he's not flinching. He's playing it patiently. Oh no, he's got to go straight in for the plant. And that means Harper just gets fed the kills. All he has to do now is just watch the diffuser. Light's gonna try and move in, but gets caught out. Cloud9 back to securing the victories.
Wow, but that was a very, very close one. Cloud9 really are going to be thanking Harper for getting that 2K right near the end. It was a 3 versus 3, and certainly I would credit Harper for bringing it back into C9's favor. Guts had such a strong position. JJ ready to plant. JJ has been popping off tonight. It's funny because we were talking about him in the lead up to this game, saying maybe his omission from the roster previously during stage 2 of APAC, the biggest factor contributing to Guts' downfall. And I've got to say, he's back on the roster and he's certainly made his impact in the return. Not only is he always playing a support, but he's always copping numbers up on the board as well. The thing I was going to say earlier, which I guess actually links into that exact same point, is that we were talking in the first half about how, Guts, they might be able to find some defenses, good on them, but where I really should be, where I would expect them to be weaker on this map is their attack, because you really need to practice your attacks on theme park. It's typically the weakest area, and you need to make sure that everyone knows what they're doing, what part they play, so that you can problem solve any utility you come up against and make sure that you work off each other. And what's crazy is that Guts are doing that so well. At a moment's notice, they turn from being preoccupied with one thing to working on another. And they burn through utility like they've been dry running this map a ton. So I actually want to credit Guts and say I think they've actually done their homework. I think they were maybe a bit more prepared for this map than we gave them credit for.
Yeah, I have to completely agree, if I'm perfectly honest with you. Regardless of which way this goes now, as I highly doubt one of these teams will run away with all of the required rounds to get their own win. So I suspect there will be rounds taken by each of these teams from this point on. Whichever way this goes now, this will still have been a close game. And that's not necessarily what we expected. So there definitely has to be credit paid to Guts, who, we underestimated. Especially on the attacking half, which we thought was just going to be completely flooded over into Cloud9's corner. But the answer to that is no.
These rounds are also swinging thanks to individual plays, making massive differences in these rounds, as we saw last round. Big play from the mute on the anchor. Let's see if Guts can step it up now. This is a throne room, throne room armory defense downstairs. And Charles is still roaming. Once again, Cloud9 have invested a lot of reinforcements upstairs. 138, they all jump down. And once again, this seems to be quite a slow attack for Guts. This time, though, they have that first pick. Last time around, they only found 1 kill with 9 seconds left on the clock. This is a damn sight better than that.
I'm sorry, I had to laugh at the pre-fire that Charles went for when he jumped over. Given what happened a couple of rounds ago when he jumped down, it's like he's been scarred and just wanted to be sure. But Yura's going to be taking some shots in anyway, looking out for a player who might be down there. That is where Charles was. And obviously his plans got kind of compromised when he got droned out in break room because he was trying to hold the angle through the Maverick hole, and then he was found, which meant that he couldn't even return back to that position because the attacking team knew that that's where he was. He had to jump down.
I think the strategy for the defense was just lurk a little up in break and daycare for a little while, and once they start to breach the wall, you just bug on out. Like, you don't need to stay there. And I mean, that was well read by Guts. They actually had Yura outside the arcade on that window. He found that first kill on the play retreating, and Guts have made a bit more progress. This is very late once again. That's a dead body, mate. And JJ can't breach this wall. Only 15 seconds left, but Crazy finds one.
5 versus 3. Static's going to be adding on to the kill count, but traded out because Xiao going down. Guts Gaming securing 2 kills. They're going to go for the plant, so they have time to do this, as Nova is the only one remaining. Shot straight down, and once again, on their attack, Guts take another round.
Wow. Contrasting my expectations, Guts are looking even better than Cloud9 on their attack. We now see a very close scoreline, but Guts, I had to actually double check. I had in my notes like 6-4, but I had to double check and wait till it came up on screen because I could not believe that Guts have match point right now on their attack. Only 4 rounds into this half, they've already copped 2 rounds on their attack, and 2 that actually looked fairly convincing. That was a 4 versus 2 execute that Guts just pulled off in the dying seconds. They're so good when it comes to those dire moments late into the rounds, and they're so consistent.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I'm kind of blown away at just the concept that we may end up going to a map number 3. Like, what? That's not what I was expecting.
Not at all.
So, I mean, you know, the onus is on Cloud9 now. They have got to swing this back in their favor, and if they are to win, they have to do it through overtime. Now, they clearly had their struggles on Clubhouse. As I mentioned at the end, it was like an emotional roller coaster up and down. There were backwards and forwards. We know that this is a team who can rein it in, and they can pull it back. But the question is not can they, the question is will they, because they only have one chance to do that. And if they screw it up on this round, then Guts Gaming are walking away with Cloud9's map.
Oh my goodness, I still can't believe it. Like, what a great foresight from Guts Gaming to, I guess, bait Cloud9 into picking this map. We said it, you know, Guts literally have only ever played this map once, ever. And it was against Fav Gaming in the APAC North qualifier back in March. Try and stretch your brain to remember the world was a very different place back then.
When was March?
Oh, the world was a very, very different place back then. Cloud9 have played it a couple times, but not very much. But they most recently won it 7-1 against GBS in the Korean Open. Guts Gaming on match point have the opening kill. It's Envy Taylor. This roam is in shambles. And I sure hope the adaptation from Cloud9, which is to bring this pulse on static, I sure hope that nets something, because so far it absolutely has not.
That's not a... Not the opening pick that Cloud9 were hoping. Xiao's going to be face-to-face with Yura in a second as he's pulling a Lily and playing here on the arcade stairs, but in fact he'll back off, and Lily is the one to get the kill instead, straight onto Harper. That weakens Cloud9 even further. And even though Yura is down to his last sliver of HP, I'm not sure it's really going to matter that much when Cloud9 have got to try and hold the fort here with just these 3 players. Only one C4. They do have the information that can come in from static. Xiao can frag, sure. But if Guts Gaming all jump down the hatch and decide to rush, there's still the potential that something like that could work.
Yura's low HP, but we know Guts are so good at converting these man advantages into round wins. They have a 5v3. They have so much information, and they have yet another kill. Yura cops his second on the round. That's 3 down now for Cloud9. Nova and Charles are going to have to step up massively and win this 2v5 for the map. It's just a matter of time before Guts manages to execute. A nade comes through as well. Charles eats a bit more damage. 30 seconds left, Geo. In the next few moments, we're going to find out whether we're going to map 3.
They're gonna jump. They're gonna come down the hatch. Nova and Charl are on opposite sides. We've got someone outside split. They're coming in from all different angles. There's one kill for Charl, but he gets killed himself. It's all on Nova at the end. Lily does go in for the diffuser, but so much pressure here on this Kaid with such minimal information. There's really nothing he can do. And Guts Gaming, to all of our surprise, take Cloud9's map, and they are going to map 3.
A massive surprise there. You can see JJ himself there. I'm not surprised he's taking a swig after that one. He's pretty happy with himself as well. I've got to ask later on whether the theme park was prepared by Guts, because they did it. They took Cloud9's map pick in a convincing 7-4, stunning everybody. These teams trade maps, and we're going to need Consulate to determine who heads into the semi-finals to face Cyclops.
I have to wonder whose confidence is going to be highlighted more after Guts Gaming will be absolutely thriving in it, and Cloud9 maybe knock down a peg or two. But let's just think about how that could be, because that's just I honestly, I'm actually just like really thrown off, because I genuinely thought that this was just going to be a 2-map game. Given what Cloud9 were, who they were, the team they were back in the August Major, and now they're actually going all the way to fight for even a spot in the semi-finals.
Yeah, it's crazy to think, isn't it? We were definitely expecting that map to go the way of Cloud9, but Guts have upset. And, well, there's a chance for an all-Japanese semi-final. We'll see you guys to determine who wins this in a few moments after the break.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Hap and Dev on the analyst desk for this matchup. Dev, you're again just casting this game with Gio, our second matchup of the evening, and it is just going a bit further. That was actually pretty cool on Theme Park. We had no expectations for C9 versus Guts going into it because there wasn't much to look at when it comes to Theme Park in general, yet it still ended up in a C9 loss.
The only information we had going into Theme Park is Cloud9 do play it a little bit because they beat GCB. GCB's on it. GBS, my goodness. Well, 7-1. It's been a long night, guys.
Basically.
It's Gaming Club Busan Spear. There you go. That's the full name.
Gaming Club Busan Spear Gaming is technically the full name. I'm not going to say that, by the way. Congrats to them for making it to APAC North for 2021. Congrats, by the way. They were the only team to manage to get promoted via the relegation system. But I digress. Yeah, Cloud9, they've beat them on it before, so 7-1. But Guts have basically not played this except for one time where they lost to Fav. So we didn't have a lot to go on. But the little that we did have told us that Cloud9 should be favored, especially since they picked it, right?
Yep.
So Guts have banned it all season. Why would they expect it to get picked here? But clearly they've been practicing it because their attacks were fire.
Look, Hap's point of view of, yeah, you know what? Defensive side on Theme Park, them actually end up working out. And yeah, C9 picked it. Guts went for defense. And here we are, 4-2 at the half. Cloud9 couldn't convert on their defense.
No, and they started off strong. They managed to get 2 rounds off in the attack to start off with. As I said, like, it looks good at that moment in time. But afterwards, everything kind of crumbled apart. And I mean, I got a replay of one of the plays that basically kept them alive for a lit. It was a beautiful double kill that came through. You basically had a long still mate coming through, and then Harper just able to pick up a nice little double kill like this. It was enough to keep them in for that round. They managed to win that one, but you're not going to be winning it on the back of those kind of plays alone, because every single round they lost one of their players early on, and they really came back like near the end of it. Like Armory Throw, normally a side you would say, well, it's pretty well defendable. Suddenly Cloud9 didn't know what to do. They were losing members left, right, and center. People were just storming in. There was one member left on the side. He actually had a TCSG to work with, which is not really the best weapon in a 1v4 situation. And it all just went downhill from there. And I don't know what happened, really, because the first 2 rounds were so convincing. Then the third one, they had a good opening. And then suddenly, it's just like Cloud9 fell asleep or something.
They went from Cloud9 to Cloud9. I'm just going to use whatever. English is not my first language, by the way. I'm just going to use that as a defense every time.
All right, you guys are just going to use that excuse every time.
Yeah, we can.
We can, actually. That's the reason.
Australian first, English second.
That is a language on its own. I've heard you and Jess speaking together, and honestly, I have no idea what you're saying. I think Hap was even more confused than I am usually on it. But here we are, Cloud9 versus Guts. It continues. We talked about a possibility of a map 3 consulate. All 3 of us were kind of like, yeah, I don't really think it's going to happen. Yet here we are. Guts is starting off on the attack. We still have a bit of time to burn. So, James, what's your take on this, especially with Guts starting on attack here?
To give you an idea of how surprised I am that we're seeing map 3, I didn't really look at the consulate stats at all.
Is it because you're casting, or?
Yeah, well, I mean, but guess what? I just had a look, and it's pretty spicy. The map that Guts played in the final 2 games of APAC North Stage 2 and 1 was Consulate against Fav and Fnatic, 2 teams that, I mean, you've got to credit if you can beat those teams. And guess what? It gets better. It gets better, guys. These teams played each other in Stage 1 on Consulate, and Guts beat Cloud9 in an 8-6 overtime. It doesn't get that much spicier. Cloud9 won the last major, and the stats predict that Guts are going to knock them out here in the quarterfinals.
All right, that's a very ballsy thing to say. Hap, would you agree?
I mean, if we saw the prediction screen we all had earlier, and everybody basically went for Cloud9. And we all know how that what happens then. If every single member of the talent goes to the same team, they lose. So
yeah, that's true.
It's likely.
Did we all go for it?
And yeah, we all did. And I'm just thinking back on it now. But if I was seeing Cloud9 playing on Theme Park, especially their defense, it seems like they were lost. And Guts Gaming were absolutely fragging out. They were disturbed. And Console is a bit more of a frag heavy compared to so to be able to keep up and make sure that the fragging will.
Actually, I want to ask about SI points here, because we know that, you won the major, Cloud9 where they are, they're in it, they're there. Yeah. But is there something that Guts can do Even if you want to talk about Xavier or Cyclops or Giants, just kind of a thing here, as apparently somebody is away and Guts will be in the lobby in just a bit.
I am right now. I believe.
Yeah,
Cyclops.
Hap is beep booping right now. He got his mic fixed, but his internet needs a bit of work as well.
He's frozen.
Yeah.
He's so determined
No,
to look
we
at
could-
the side flames that he is just absolutely frozen.
We can hear in the back. You can refresh Hap.
Oh
Yeah.
my
I
God,
mean,
poor
we're
Hap.
getting a slideshow. This is like
prefer
Sao
him this
Paulo
way,
Finals
honestly.
2017. Honestly, this is genuinely like 2017. There.
Don't put him up there, production. Don't do him like this. Look at that. Can we? That needs to be an emote. Happy Hap right there. Happy Hap.
Okay. Teams are ready. Very quickly, Hap. I know we can't hear you. We're not sure about production, but do you see this Guts winning? Very quickly. Just yes, no. Guts winning, yes. James.
Yeah.
Okay, C9 knocked out in quarterfinals after having won the last major in August. That's really what we're up against here. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a huge one. Cloud9 versus Guts. Go to map 3. It's Consulate. There's some stats, but also actually translate into game. James, J.O., all yours.
I guess that's my name now. Oh, how the tides have shifted here with the expectations now falling into Guts's favor. And at the beginning, we all thought it was going to be Cloud9. Like, it's kind of strange and kind of crazy. And James, I am actually really stoked to see how this is going to go because I have no idea what I think anymore.
Yeah, it could definitely go either way. I don't know how to call this one. I think on paper, looking at the stats, looking at recent form on Consulate rather, I've got to say I'm starting to flip-flop over to the Guts camp. But Cloud9, well, it's their major spot on the line. They're trying to retain that championship that they managed to get for themselves in August. Let's see if they can do the same here. It all comes down to our decider map for these teams to stay alive in the major.
All right, well, let's see what they're going to be going for as far as operator bans. Buck, the first one to be relinquished from Guts Game.
That is
Not Guts Game,
very
sorry,
uncommon.
Cloud9.
Yeah, that is very uncommon. I'm looking at Cloud9. I don't have a single Buck ban across the board. Not even in Consulate, which is typically you see teams ban similar operators on the same map. So I've got to say this is probably a target ban towards Crazy Papillon, who I've seen play Buck really effectively in the past. Maybe that is the idea. Maybe it's just a target ban because he's really good on the operator, or maybe it's to restrict the amount of soft breach available. I think that latter is less likely due to the fact that Guts can simply bring a sledge instead. Nonetheless, let's move on. Valkyrie is Guts' go-to ban, particularly on Consulate, but also in general. Actually, 83% of the time, Guts ban Valkyrie, so that should surprise just about no one. The Ying, on the other hand, is much less common ban. I think that's got to be a target ban towards Cloud9. Though admittedly, we did see a couple Ying picks, 2 or 3 from Static on Clubhouse. I wouldn't say they were all that effective. I feel like the Capitao would have actually been maybe a better pick for Cloud9 and a better ban, consequently, for Guts. But we'll see how it shapes up.
All right, well, Cafeteria and Garage. I never know whether to say Garage or Garage because people get really mad at me for it. As a Brit, my inclination is to say
right?
Garage, yeah. But people go, it's Garage! So,
I really want just a soundbite of you doing that.
Oh, the crazy thing with Twitch is you can clip things. So there you go.
Yeah.
But, no, Cafeteria and Garage. Yeah, I mean, kind of comment. A lot of teams have been kind of changing up of late, where it is they like to go first. Back in the day, people really like to go down here first. Then the top floor was all the rage, and now there are a number of teams who will go to lobby press, or if anyone calls it press, lobby piano, to kind of shake things up. So we have seen quite a variety over the course of the last year of where teams like to go for their primary site. But this is going to be pretty interesting because operators who've been left in include the Kaid and the Mirror. Mirror has obviously made a really big, prominent play and position in this entire series so far. She's been available entirely. And so whether Cloud9 will be able to get the same amount of value out of her as they have done so far, that remains to be seen. But I think it's definitely notable as she can make particularly breaking through or breaching through the garage door quite difficult.
There's a bit of a roam now for MV Taylor and Charles. Who says one-speed operators can't roam? MV Taylor says, no such thing. I can do that on Kaid. I can even use my C4 to make a rotate.
You hate to see it.
Well, I mean, it's an important rotation to have. I don't blame him for using the C4 for that. And we discussed the operator ban from Cloud9, that's Bach ban, and how it would affect Crazy Papillon. He's moved on to the Sledge. They're very similar operators. Main differences are, well, firstly, that Bach doesn't have grenade. Oh, wait a second. This has been a perfect cutoff from Guts Gaming. They forced these two roamers downstairs, and in fact found the first pick, cutting off Charles' retreat. Really nice stuff. It could have also cut off MV Taylor's position here in the lobby from someone outside the front door. Unfortunately, they missed that.
I mean, it's nice that Emma Taylor has the information to work with because of what happened to Shell, but it's a shame that Shell had to go down for it, and Emma Taylor couldn't even secure the kill for the efforts. And that means both of those lives have been wasted. Yura still stands, and the Nomad is still in play. Still one air jab in pocket, so that utility that could have been lost still is in the game. Now, you still have the players from Cloud9 who do remain downstairs. That is the last three, and there's the final mirror window actually going to be placed in security, but they don't really have the option of having any kind of control elsewhere because of those roamers that went down.
This is when we typically see the attack really start to spiral. This vertical play from Light and Crazy Papillon will be detrimental. Not only will it deny any kind of wall denial on the main wall, pop that mirror window, but also it'll make it very difficult to play anywhere inside of the bomb sites safely, as almost everywhere can have the ceiling above it destroyed, and therefore flushing out the players. That's exactly what we've seen there. Crazy Papillon finds Harper, who is playing at Pipes, completely exposed and finished off. A 5 versus 2 execute is very favorable now for Guts.
Yeah, this looks like it should run in their favor. Nova does bring down the man advantage somewhat, Yura being that kill, or that casualty, but as we knew, he was already lacking in health. But Nova going in with a second kill, actually. He throws out the C4, it can't deny anything, so JJ will be able to continue with making that plant. And at this point, it does look like it's going to be difficult for Cloud9. Nova is bleeding out, and Static has all of the responsibility on his shoulders, and he can try and go in for the deny, but with the risk of vertical play and the players who are likely outside of the building, it makes it virtually impossible to hope that that can work, and Guts Gaming take the first round.
My, Geo. This is shaping up to be a very spicy series. Cloud9, who a lot would have had high hopes for after their amazing run through the August Major, are potentially on the verge of elimination here. Perhaps it's too early to call on simply the first round, but Guts are looking so good on their attack. It was that way all through Theme Park, and now it is indeed the case here on Consular as well. A 5 versus 2 execute, while the two remaining Cloud9 players found 2 frags. JJ planted in an unorthodox position near the drone hole, and that blind C4 from Nova was just not enough to deny that plant. Cloud9 left reeling, will change bomb sites, go to Teller's archives, but I've got to say, Gio, I think I'm actually converted now. I have a feeling Guts are well and truly on the roll and ready to take the series.
And you're on the full flip-flop. I mean, even thinking back, you know, at the August Major, we all, in the grand finals, we all predicted it would be Giants and Cloud9 won. I'm wondering if Cloud9's power is inversely proportional to the number of people who predict them.
Yeah, well, there was a 70-something% popular, like the poll vote on
Yeah,
Twitter.
72%, something like that, something
Insane.
crazy. And it's not even that they're doing poorly. It's just they're not being as dominant as expectations would have it, and they're not playing at a level that is so significantly higher than their opponent that we thought maybe they would be. And Guts Gaming are giving them the game of their lives. Well, now they've decided to come and defend Archive Tellers. That's a really early drone lost to the Pest, but it does clear it, of course, for other drones to be sent into admin, and that's going to be held. They have the Pests, they have the Mute Jammers, they've got the mirror window here. Envy Taylor's playing behind it in Break Room, so you can tell that Cloud9 really want to hold on to this area of the map.
Nice little info gathering. Mozzie is a great pick here for denying drones. He's actually caught, I believe, 3 of them. Flushed out of Break Room, he actually shoots another drone. Look at that drone economy on the Guts side. Every player having lost a single drone. That halves the intel economy. And now another one goes down as well. And Envy Taylor allowed to escape with his life. I don't believe any attackers are on the CEO windows. This is actually a very strong start. That said, Guts find the first pick as JJ pushes through and takes down Charles.
Yeah, taking control of the Visa Stairs there is actually really great that Shell can't hold that and prevent Guts' route down towards the site. Cloud9 likely to have retreated a fair bit. You can tell that Envy Taylor clearly using one of the drones that he has caught to set that up, and so that the team do know as Guts move into the site. Harper is still playing in there, JJ not too far away. And clearly everything's split. They're interestingly not playing something like a Pulse where they can have that vertical information, so the more they lose of these players, the more dangerous it's going to be to figure that out. Nova being the next casualty, Europe being traded in return, it's still a backwards and forwards.
Lily jumps on the pile as well. Harper forced straight on out of Tellers. Oh no! His bullets do a dance around the player's head. And that's a missed opportunity, but this is effectively a 2 versus 2 with JJ injured. Envy Taylor's done some good work and now found a frag. On top of all that, Harper and him must clutch this now for Cloud9.
Harper getting stunned out. He's very low on health, and there's a frag grenade coming in behind him, but he should be able to narrowly avoid it. Light looking into the site. Can't quite find anything. There's just about 20 seconds left. Guts Gaming are going to have to push in eventually. He doesn't actually find the kill. Harper secures that for himself. That's a great shot. And now Crazy Papillon is all on his own. This looks like it could maybe go towards Cloud9. And there it is finally. The kill from Envy Taylor. Harper finishing it off. And Cloud9 hold on to Tellers and Archives.
Fantastic 2v4 from Envy Taylor and Harper, each a 2k to their name. And Cloud9, wow, it definitely looked difficult for them. While they did a lot of damage to the info economy and held on to that top floor for a decent amount of time, they eventually not only lost the opening engagement, but also lost a second player shortly after, leaving Guts in a great position with over a minute left. And a 5v3, but C9, they fought for every tiny little morsel that Guts could offer them, and eventually won in that clutch. This is certainly proven to be a very tight game, Gio.
I was looking at this operator lineup because I was thinking in my head, they're going back to Cafeteria Garage, which is where they started, and they were flirting with the idea of playing the same lineup. And I was thinking, the Kaid roam didn't really work last time. Are you really going to go for that once again? But of course not. Envy Taylor 6th picked onto Mozzie, and it worked so well for them in that last round. He caught 3 drones. He managed to kill a lot of the drones that were out on the board. He made quite cheeky rotations, got away from damage that was incoming, and got some relevant kills. So I think Envy Taylor playing on an operator like Mozzie, which does fit a lot more into his natural operator pool anyway, could bring some more luck to Cloud9's fate in this round, particularly as it means that their roam can be a lot more nippy, it can be a lot more roamy, you know, everything that you expect not a 1-speed to be.
That's did not catch. Oh, there it go. Did get caught by a pest. He does shoot the drone though. I think maybe there's another pest there. No, Crazy Papillon's second drone, but he does spot out that second pest, warns it for his teammates, and pings it out. That's a good bit of info gathered, but still, MV Taylor's effectively just destroyed one drone already. I think the key here for C9 is not forfeiting piano control. MV Taylor takes out a second drone, and he's safe to drop down. It doesn't look like there's anyone outside the piano areas to cut him off. But like I was saying, I think the key here isn't necessarily this top floor roam. Like, MV Taylor can drop down now. What's important is that Guts don't have full control of piano, so that they can just mince open the floor and kill the players on site. But there's no mirror window here in public bathroom, which is a surprise to me. I would have thought that would just be an effective strategy. Instead, Cloud9 going for something much more loose.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually exactly what I was going to say, is in the back in round 1, I noticed that they didn't place the mirror window in bathroom. They actually had them both in security, and I'm guessing that's probably what they've gone for again. You can see one on the wall of security there. The other one before was faced into the corridor. There isn't one there. In fact, they've put it on the garage door instead. So not going for that hold, and of course that means that they've reinforced off the hatch. But MV Taylor actually playing in the bathroom now means that if he gets caught out, it could be it for him. There's a lot of gunfire coming through. He's just got to try and catch out this attacker.
Oh, and he does. Light goes down. A couple of bullets to the chest will do the trick with the commando. MV Taylor keen for another fight.
Ooh.
And eventually he gets it. Crazy Papillon goes down. He even gets greedy for a third as well. MV Taylor doesn't need a mirror window or any support, it seems. All he needs is the trusty commando in his hands. And now he's well and truly done his part for his team. Anything else is just a bonus. It's certainly accomplishable here as Lily and Yura try to triangulate this final roamer.
I mean, you saw them droning in. Lily's getting back on it. And Mikael's trying to take the shots in through the wall. Narrowly misses, but there's a nice kill. He's just doing work from this part of the map. And just 16 seconds remain, and Guts Gaming have barely been able to focus on the site itself. Yura finally gets rid of him, but with such little time, they have truly been distracted. JJ could have the opportunity to go for the plant right now. He's going to be trying anyway, but surely Cloud9 are going to be able to get rid of it. You would assume so. Harper is going in for the player. Nova gets a kill, and while the diffuser has been planted, it's just Yura remaining. He's outside, and Xiao can go for the disable. They're looking for him. Yura can move forward, but no, he can't. Nova's there. He gets rid of it. Vector in hand. And Cloud9 have a redemption round in round 3.
All in all, an impressive position for Guts to get themselves in. Managing to get that plant down, very, very surprising, but it was just not going to work in the post-plant. JJ was forced to plant in a very, very safe position, very, very deep into the garage, and hence very difficult to defend from outside, especially in a 1 versus 3. So while credit to Guts for getting that plant down, executing with 6 seconds left, it was just not going to happen. And that is because of really just MV Taylor on that roam. He found 3 kills just roaming around Antechamber. 3 kills, 3 1v1 gunfights he was allowed to take, and he won every single one. A very loose playstyle that Cloud9 decided to adopt for that round, but it worked out just fine for them, and it definitely punished Guts for not properly clearing that roamer. Eventually, by the time Guts finally gave MV Taylor a 4th 1v1 gunfight, but this time Guts won it, there were 10 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah.
10 seconds left, and you're in a 2v4. You haven't opened up any of the vertical angles to flush out those players on sites. It's just not going to happen. So, massive credit to Cloud9, in particular MV Taylor, who put the round on his shoulders. But we'll see if they can continue that. I don't think that a crazy 3K like that you can rely upon as a reliable strategy.
This is so interesting. A lot of times you'll see that middle panel on the connector wall be the one that gets reinforced, because it means that if anybody is on the CEO window, they can't then shoot directly through into meeting. But this time Cloud9 have actually decided to leave it open. They've also reinforced the adjacent panel so that you can't shoot the soft wall through from the connector window itself. So there's an interesting setup here from Cloud9. It's the first time they've come here in this map so far. And this is that site I spoke about that has been for a very long time the typical premier site for many teams, and a lot of them are starting to switch off as it gets more and more figured out, really.
Yeah, definitely become the least favoured bomb site from many teams now, especially ones that are happy to go to tellers, as we've seen from Cloud9 already. In fact, it was the first defense they won. Typically, we see that middle panel left unreinforced at the connector if the defenders actually want to contest the CEO windows all the way from meeting. And typically you'll see that in tandem with an ACOG, usually like a rook pick, but that's not actually the case here. That said, I wouldn't be surprised if the C9 players are happy to contest even with these one-time sites, and oh my goodness, where was that angle? Euro went down to the SMG-11 of Harper and a roam downstairs. I still can't see where that Nomad died. I think it must have been down bottom yellow or something, as Harper has a rotate hole in Bench's hallway.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
he
that's
continues
where
to roam
Euro...
downstairs.
I was just going to say, it's where... Oh, right, okay. Because I was going to say that is where Euro was hanging about in the last round, but yeah, you said it. They're going to be going straight in. Harper's looking for something else. He does get a drone in the meantime, but Guts Gaming, they're going in for the plant. JJ's just about finished with it. It's all a mess. Yeah, maybe there was a C4, James, but it didn't really do what it needed to, as that diffuser is well and truly planted, and Cloud9 are in the post-plant situation. You'd have thought they had the angles onto where they needed. Envy Taylor coming in all aggressive as he's looking for the players on rappel that he could get rid of, but Light was ready for it. Now he can protect that diffuser from further away. Maybe not. Static, he says no with the 2K. It's constantly back and forwards. Cloud9 comes sweeping in, and they have plenty of time to get the disable underway. Guts Gaming played the ballsy game, but Cloud9 had the guns.
What an unbelievable retake. Guts to execute with over a minute left in the round. Nobody would have expected that to favor the defenders, and yet somehow they pulled it out of nothing. Static went massive and found 2 kills from jumping out the piano window and taking down those players on the CEO rappel. A huge 4v4 post-plant retake from C9, and one that is no doubt going to leave Guts kicking themselves.
What? Okay, this isn't the first time that Envy Taylor has 6-picked off of a Cav, and by this point, you'd assume that Guts are gonna see that and they'll be like, oh yeah, he's gonna 6-pick onto Mozzie. Like, what else is it gonna be? It worked so well for them last time when they came here to Archives Tellers. It's not that often that we see this be a site that's visited multiple times in a series. You know, sometimes you'll see it once, but to see it multiple times from one team, it's a bit of a rarity. But when it worked as well as it did for Cloud9, it makes sense why they'd want to come back. They held so hard onto Archives before, they denied a lot of information using the pests. And when it got to the point that Guts could actually descend onto the site, it was a 2 versus 2. There wasn't really much power that the attacking team had. So Cloud9 looking to recreate the fate and the fortunes of round number 2. Are they going to be able to do it?
I think it does make me a bit concerned here for C9, is that if you remember, yeah, we talked about how good C9 were at denying info, but Guts actually put themselves in a 5v3 reasonably early on. That's a aggressive C4. JJ's going to lose his drone here, no two ways about it. Not unless if his teammate uses an explosive to clear that pest, but I don't think that's going to happen.
He's just going to get a concussion from it instead.
Yep, have it fly back out the window. He's actually going to wait for Crazy Papon to use a nade, I expect. Nope, or he's just going to forfeit his drone through the window. Nonetheless, it's delayed some time. JJ does eventually get it on through, but there's mid jammers as well. It's not as simple as a single thing to deny this information. The smoke, however, may deny this mirror window position, its effectiveness, and allow JJ to swing on inside.
And now they're finally in, and Envy Taylor is down. This key player that we've been heralding in the last couple of rounds, no longer there. That could be a real key pick for Guts Gaming. Yeah, it's still early to say, But wow, bit of a loss for Cloud9. Xiao's still alive. He got taken down pretty quickly before as he was trying to hold on to these stairs, and JJ removed him. So maybe if he can stay alive, he can fill a gap that he left in his wake last time. But it's hard to say. Guts Gaming have taken pretty early or swift control of this top floor.
Let's draw a bit of a Venn diagram of similarities and differences of this round compared to last time. The big thing that strikes me as a similarity is the fact that Guts have a numbers advantage. They've taken down Envy Taylor early. The big thing that strikes me as a difference is Guts Gaming have only lost 2 drones instead of 6. Now, that is a huge boon for the attackers. And while they might not have as significant a numbers advantage as they did previously, in theory, as long as they just start to make consistent progress here, they should be well set up to take this.
Nova's playing it patient, and Harper takes a decent chunk of damage as well. He was playing on the site last time too, but he's got multiple angles straight in on him, and it'll be Yura to secure the kill. And just as you were saying, James, it looks way more poised for Guts Gaming to be able to take this. Again, oh, Nova, he was looking to catch out the player, but he didn't actually quite do it. Crazy Papillon's gone down, but he's not dead, and there are still 4 others. There's the C4. It doesn't get anybody. Yura finishes off Xiao. It doesn't look like good news here for Cloud9. And Guts Gaming just continue to finish them off as they plant the diffuser.
Oh, no!
I don't know what really just happened. Wow. Guts Gaming do finish it off, but it got close.
Absolutely, it got close, and that is because Guts left it so late. Executing with 8 seconds left on the round, you can have a 5 versus 3 man advantage, but if you don't kill all the enemy players or get the diffuser down before the timer hits 0, you lose. That was nearly a clutch from Nova, denying the plan with 1 second left, I think it was 0-0-1, and that's why it came down to Guts having to push for that kill. They had to find him. That was why the strategy with 5 players or 4 players, I believe at the time, left standing. Someone has to go for that plant. Everyone else has to hunt for that kill. And the defender has no choice but to try and deny the plant, as we saw from Nova. Very surprisingly, he was successful, but thankfully for the Japanese, Lily was there to clean up the final pick and save the round for Guts. And now they have taken us one step closer to an equality round count here. Cloud9 are up 3-2. But it could very easily swing to an even 3-3 half in this next round.
Yeah, I mean, here's a nice cheeky replay. Oh, it's just so close.
It's 0-0-0! It said 0-0-0! And for some reason in Rainbow Six, when the timer hits 0, right before the round ends, it goes 0-0-4. Like, I don't know what it is. It's some kind of like weird bug or something. But it even got to that point, Gio. Like, that's how tight that was.
0-0-4 point. That's how you know.
It got so far past 0-0-0 that it got to 0-0-4. Like, that round was so close that extra time was added to the clock. We came out the opposite direction. That's how deep we got.
Man, yeah, that was a heart racer. What I was going to say on a slightly more tempered note is that Cloud9, if they are to finish this at 3-3, that's still not really that bad for Consulate, which is, a bit more attacker-sided. The only thing that you wonder about then is because Cloud9 themselves are more of a defender-sided team, do you expect them to do better when they go on the attack and make up for that, or would you have hoped that they had at least gotten a 4-2 at the half while playing on defense? Now, clearly we don't know the answer to this yet, as the round is still yet to plan out. Nova's going to be the one to get the opening kill, so it's a good start for them, but it's still something to think about.
Nova's still salty that he lost that round despite the timer hitting 0. Finds 1 kill. It's Light who goes down. A play we highlighted in the pre-match segment, but hasn't really been a talking point, in my opinion, of this game. If we do recall correctly, though, the way that Cloud9 won this garage cafeteria defense on the previous iteration was really just thanks to Envy Taylor finding 3 kills roaming solo in Antechamber, and you can see how cautious Yura is of that exact position. I don't expect Guts will get caught out from that. But again, Guts were caught out from Nova peeking aggressively on the bomb site, so perhaps I shouldn't speak too soon.
There is still time, and I think if we've learned anything from this series is that you don't want to come to foregone conclusions. Beautiful C4 coming out from Envy Taylor to get rid of Crazy Papillon, so Cloud9 continue to maintain control.
And look how much of the floor is still yet to be breached open. That's why you bring your sledge. And this is why they banned the box, so that the Crazy Papillon can't breach open the floor from a safe distance. He has to get up close and personal. This is looking pretty grim now for Guts Gaming. Lily has to do now Crazy Papillon's job of opening up the floor and looking for these players. Yura can find one, almost found a second on that exact same angle, but with 20 seconds left, this desperate push is not likely to work.
I don't think it is going to, although Yura, he gets one for free. Harper just pushing straight up the yellow stairs. He didn't need to do that. There isn't very much time left, and JJ's going to go for the plant, but that gets denied. So it looks like Cloud9 will get this anyway, finishing things off. C4 didn't get anyone, but the smoke did. And Cloud9, despite that peculiar move from Harper, do take their 4th round on defense and head into the attack with the advantage.
Some great changes from Cloud9. Yes, they had won that previous defense of that bomb site, but it was thanks to a strategy or a tactic that's not reliable. And it's just saying, Envy Taylor, go and kill everyone. I mean, yeah, he's pretty good, and maybe you would rely on that sometimes, but not all the time. Gus were ready for it, but funnily enough, Nova found a kill through the floor first, and that so beautiful C4 from Envy Taylor. I can't emphasize enough how much killing Crazy Papillon before he opened the floor was impactful to the result of that round. And I do want to loop back into the operator ban phase and say, well, I think the reason why C9 banned Bok is because Crazy Papillon plays that Bok, and he not only breaches the piano floor from inside piano to find kills onto the bomb site, but he actually can even stand in CEO on the very top floor, open the CEO floor. Thank you, easy. We're going to have a look. Opens this floor, and then uses the skeleton key to open this floor while completely safe from C4s, and therefore gets angles all the way down onto the bomb site. That was the idea that Guts are used to using. But with Buck banned, Crazy Papillon has to play Sledge, and he has to be on the same floor that he is trying to break, and therefore is vulnerable to C4s. That single operator ban only got Cloud9 one kill throughout the entire half, but they deemed it worth it. And I think it was worth it. You got one round win. It might be a round that you desperately need when it comes to the pointy end of this map.
Yeah, you know, when you're in this position where you haven't necessarily expected to come all the way to a 3rd map, and it's been a lot tighter than anyone anticipated, yeah, you take those. Those 1 round wins can be the difference between taking the series and going to the semifinals and not taking the series. So I would agree with you. I would say that it's definitely something that worked out in their favor, and it could be something that launches Cloud9 forward in the competition. Now, are they going to be able to continue that forward on this half? That's the question. They're making their way in already, as we see a lot of those walls have been brutally opened by the Sledge of Static as they start to drone in to seek out the defending team.
Rainbow Six is such a beautiful thing, Gia. Sometimes you just have to sit back and admire it. As Crazy Papillon is going to have to do for the next 2 minutes because he's dead. As he gets taken down by Nova. That's a pretty pinch of top floor control taken now for C9. Already starting strong on their attack. Remember, this is a lobby press room defense. For the first time actually this series that we are seeing this bomb site taken. But Guts do fight back and equalize that numbers. Yura has to be cautious on this long angle. Him and Light together trying to hold on to top floor as long as possible. In particular, this bullet hole angle in tandem with the shield makes it very difficult for attackers to push up the Visa stairs and take control of meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to note that, you know, we're past the halfway point in the map, and you still have players from Guts Gaming who are up there. You're getting a bit more of a rotation now, but, you know, you can see Light, he's over in the distance. Harper's going to start moving down Spiral to try and see if anyone is over towards Circle and actually in the site itself. So far, he hasn't been able to seek anyone out. In fact, it was Xiao who got you. So that's the next casualty. JJ as well to be falling. Cloud9 suddenly looking a lot stronger, but Light is still upstairs. He's still committing. While that's happening, though, Nova can go in for the plant. He can actually make that work. You say plant denial, I say Xiao. He's there ready to ensure that that's gotten rid of. Lily's trying to push on forward. He's moving that way. He could throw in the smoke, but he's all on his own. He can't really do much as far as running straight into the site, and he has to make a rotate around. A difficult position for him to be in, and there's the air jab to catch him out as well. Cloud9 look very much set to be able to take this round.
Just about nothing that Lily can do. A couple of QE peaks might give him an extra kill and a bit of a stat pad, but Nova says, mate, I want to get straight out of this map and into the semi-finals. Turning up the heat these last 2 rounds, a 3K for the Thermite player, and Cloud9 go up 5-2 on this oh-so-critical decider map of this quarterfinal.
Suddenly, things don't look quite so dire for Cloud9 anymore. Are you starting to regret the flip-flop yet?
I don't know. I never regret, Gio. Never in my life have I regretted anything.
Are you sure?
No.
Yeah,
I just thought it would be a cool line to say. It's funny because if I do dig into why I flip-flopped, why I predicted that Guts were probably going to win this, you look at their most 2 recent playdays in APAC North, they won this comfortably 7-4 against Fav and 7-4 against Fnatic. If you look really far back in Stage 1, these 2 teams played on this map and Guts won 8-6. If you do dig in a little bit to Cloud9, there are some really positive results. Cloud9 7-3'd SGA and 7-0'd Talon on Consulate recently, very, very recently. In fact, only about, 4 weeks ago in the Korean Open. And since then, they haven't, aside from that, they haven't played it since the August Major. So, yeah, you've got 2 really strong, convincing scorelines for Cloud9, but it's against much weaker competition than what we've seen Guts defeat. So, I think it's fair to say that we shouldn't have super high expectations for Cloud9, and they are outperforming what we would expect right here, which is fantastic to see, especially if you're a Cloud9 fan, hoping that they get a rematch against Cyclops in the semis.
That would be nice to see. You are right. Well, Guts Gaming is still looking to put some more rounds on the board. They haven't given up just yet, and they want the defense to work. Envy Taylor being taken out straight away by Eura is going to be a nice way to start that off. Now he can just continue on unimpeded with the cardiac sensor, providing the information to the rest of his team as they defend. But look at this! This is actually so early!
What?
Nova going straight in for the plant. There's the C4 to deny, and there's just kills consistently coming out for Guts Gaming. Cloud9 really went for that rush, and suddenly it's just Harper. Everything on him. He's in a 1 versus 4. Maybe it wasn't a gamble that paid off, but there is still time, 2 minutes in fact of it, to see if he can clutch this one out. The likelihood is low, but Harper's still had a pretty good day so far. He's going to play it patiently. Absolutely no reason to rush. And whether Guts can figure out his location right now, don't know about it. But my god, that was a quick attempt from Cloud9.
Emphasis on the word attempt, and there was one player who stood in their way. It was Eura, not only finding a spawn peak, but denying the plant. I'm really quite surprised, actually, that Cloud9 committed to that rush, knowing that there was a pulse downstairs. It could not be better for Guts to have, they couldn't have asked for anything better to try and deny that plant. A C4 to go over. Nice shot there, Harper. JJ's being patient. Here's the barbed wire. Second piece of barbed wire. And this should be an easy kill. Indeed it is. JJ secures that round, and no doubt thanks Eura for his contributions. And Guts Gaming, they stopped that overwhelming wave that Cloud9 had begun to heat up. And take us back and make us think a minute before we get too ahead of ourselves.
I mean, you know, sometimes you just gotta try. You just gotta see if it's gonna work out. And for Cloud9, the answer in that case was no. Now, this time, Guts are actually going to do something that Cloud9 did, and that was on their third round of defense, return back to their first site, which they failed. And then Cloud9 were able to win that one out. So that's what Guts are looking to do now. They weren't able to successfully defend lobby before. They're changing some of their operator lineup up. But look at this. There's a fuse that's been brought from Cloud9. I'm wondering if they're expecting them to be downstairs.
Yeah, that's what you would typically bring a fuse for, right? But fuse actually is viable on this bomb site as well. You can particularly use fuse in the connector on the top floor, and that will deny anyone in antechamber. Likewise, on CEO will deny anyone in piano. Typically, most of the defenders will either sit in antechamber, the public bathroom, or off-site. So maybe not super effective, but still, useful. And what's great is Static can also just rock that AK, and also got some extra hard breach if necessary. Pretty versatile. Overall, the main drawback of Fuse is simply that he's a 1 armor or 3 armor, 1 speed, which a lot of people are just not comfortable playing. Funnily enough, we actually saw a lot of Fuse earlier today on this very map, which was, I believe, Fav Gaming. Yeah, indeed it was. They brought it for 3 out of their 4 attack rounds.
Well, if he's your cup of tea, then go for it. But by this point, they will at the very least know that they're not obviously going into the basement. So even though he is still viable here to attack lobby, Cloud9, maybe they already knew that. Maybe that's what they were already expecting. But they definitely are now. And they're just making sure that admin is clear before they make any way through, and they'll start formulating their plan. I'm very interested in this as well, because not only did, Guts make some changes because they didn't win before, but with Cloud9 having to approach it differently, whether or not it's because they expected it, it doesn't necessarily give you the same kind of expectation or same kind of understanding as to what they may be guaranteed to win based on their previous performance.
Still holding on to top floor control though is Guts. C9 have definitely struggling to dislodge these roamers on the top floor. JJ also finds that first kill. Harper goes down. Shouldn't be too remiss really. It's not stacks of util gone, but explosives are always valuable. Yura finds another. The pivotal thing here is that Guts have managed to so effectively retain this top floor control that Cloud9 does bite back very quickly and find 2 swift responses. There's still a roamer upstairs though, and it's JJ cornered.
Ooh, not quite able to click the head of MV Taylor. So he comes swinging around on the Nomad, and he can collect the diffuser as well. Cloud9 still maintain the man advantage, so this could work out for them. Lily and Crazy Papillon left to work together to hold down on this first floor. Looking out of the window to see if anyone from Cloud9 is out there. There is someone not too far away, although not yet in the line of sight of Crazy Papillon. And they said he's going to give up as they hear the smoke coming out.
40 seconds left. Good info there gathered. Crazy Papillon playing around Z at the moment. Will Static use his cluster charges? Still all of his utility in the pocket. He's going to just use one. This fuse charges actually explode from right to left, if you don't know. So the first charges, we'll actually get to see that right now. There you go, right to left. Boom, 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 boom. Static now holding the angle. He knows that there was a player near Z. Didn't actually see that they just crossed out of piano into yellow. And now Crazy Papillon's flanking above. This could change everything.
He might be able to deny this.
No!
Xavier Taylor's going in. What? Shell right next to him. The diffuser's being planted, but he can get the kill anyway. And now it's just him versus Static. Suddenly, this looks a lot more doable for Guts Gaming than it did previously. Static is hiding out in tellers. Crazy Papillon doesn't necessarily know where he is and could find himself being caught out as he can't necessarily go on the hunt. He's having a go, going for it. That's what you want to see. He's trying to be quiet, but it's very difficult when you're that heavy. And Static is just moving back. He's retreating. Crazy Papillon is pushing on forward, though. Who is going to win? Static is going to be the one. Cloud9 put it on match point.
Static gets the job done. Give him the AK. He doesn't care that he's a 1 speed. He'll close out that 1 versus 1. A very, very valiant effort for Crazy Papillon, though. Almost clutched that thanks to the flank up yellow stairs, which I guess you can partly put on Static, who unfortunately stopped holding the cross from piano to yellow stairs, but just a tiny moment. And I guess you could kind of put on whoever was playing above that. I think it was Charles.
It was Charles.
They were just...
just chilling.
I mean, someone needs to make a meme of that. They were both looking down the hatch, standing right next to each other. Oh, that's images that precede
unfortunate events. Yeah, that's definitely going to be on our 6 events. I like how it's just got to the point now where we start to predict them.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of juicy stuff comes up on that Twitter page, so I embrace it. I embrace the memes. I know the community loves it. If you're a Cloud9 fan, you're definitely loving this map. It's turned out to be a lot more C9 favored and flavored than I'd expected going in. Even though Guts have had some good plays, they can't really find their footing on defense, and they desperately try something new. They'll go to Garage Cafeteria, where we haven't seen them as of yet. And while the Fuse pick, funnily enough, not taken this time around, perhaps they think that... Actually, I honestly have no idea what they're thinking. Maybe he's just like, yeah, I prefer the sledge anyway. Important for the basement bomb site, for opening up the floor. And for Guts, there is that elephant in the room that is the Warden pick on Yura. I guess the idea is to try and deny plant. Warden actually works really well in tandem with a mirror window. You can sit safely behind it and get information like an evil eye. But we'll see whether it's effective.
Yeah, I mean, Nova 6 pick off of Ace onto Thermite, so I assume, you know, when they saw the Ace, they thought, okay, there's going to be smokes, there's going to be a smoke plant involved, kind of common. So that would make sense. He could still get value out of it. Clearly he's carrying the C4, so he could still do the denial, just as 3 other players on the side of Guts Gaming could. Now here's something that Guts are doing that Cloud9 didn't, and that's have the hatch open and have someone placed specifically in there. We did see MV Taylor taking refuge in the bathroom in one of the rounds, but it wasn't specifically designed for that purpose. He didn't have the hatch open. So it's kind of a slightly different approach that Guts are having here. Ooh, but he gets forced out.
Yeah, really good time management there from Nova. And I think a smart move. Funnily enough, if it had been Yura playing in the bathroom, he could have just tanked that flashbang, used the smart glasses, and, well, live to fight another day in that exact same position. But instead, Guts Gaming forfeit that control, and now Cloud9 can get to work opening up the floor. That's an Electric Claw dealt with quite swiftly. Lots of time still remaining here for C9 to get the job done. At the moment, priority for Static is just clearing these Electric Claws so the wall can be fully breached, but MV Taylor's already found the opening pick. With so much time to open up this floor, F in chat for that drone, I think that Cloud9 have this pretty well and squarely in the bag.
It does look like it could be pretty clean. I mean, I don't want to speak too soon just because of everything we've seen and like what we saw with Nova and Lily earlier on. You never know what's going to happen right at the end. But what's going to happen now is MV Taylor continues on his tear. He can get another kill here, but instead he's shut down. 4 players of Cloud9 still do remain though, so it's not going to be the total end of the world. And there's Harper getting that kill from above. Nova can go in for the plant, and Yura's just left to try and do it himself. The penguin run of Warden as he pushes on forward looking for those enemies. He can't make it work, and Cloud9, after a series that was perhaps longer than we expected, finally pushed themselves into the semi-finals.
It was certainly more of a challenge than the Koreans would have expected, but the third map turns out to be this. Guts Gaming gave it their all, but at the end of the day, Cloud9 are too strong, and it wouldn't be a major without them in the semi-finals.
No, it is going to continue on the road of spice that we have spoken about. Cloud9 had to graft for that series a lot harder than maybe they were expecting, but they got there eventually, and that fated, or rather anticipated, game between them and Cyclops is definitely on the cards.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be juicy, juicy, juicy. C9 knocked Cyclops out of the major last time, went on to win the whole damn thing. Cyclops is a completely different team since then. I'm so excited for that game. But for today, wow, great game from Cloud9. I also got to say the same for Guts. I think they really outdid themselves here.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm super impressed. I think they exceeded everybody's expectations, and it's not because we thought Guts were a bad team or a team that couldn't show up. It's just they've had inconsistent performance throughout stage 2, and Cloud9 have looked so much more dominating. So the fact that they put up the fight they did and looked as clean, coordinated, and strong as they did throughout the course of the series, I was incredibly impressed.
For sure. Now, it seems kind of weird, but I'm going to throw it over to Milosh and Hap and myself so we can further break down this game.